What's up, guys? Welcome to the Fresh Shit Podcast, man. We're here with Ryan Dawson. We're going to talk about 9/11 and the conspiracy theories that are not true. Let's get into it.
Let's go. We're back.
All right, we're back. What's up, guys? Welcome to Fresh Shit Podcast, man. We're here at Ryan Dawson, man, one of the most banned 9/11 researchers on the internet for obvious reasons. If you guys haven't already, Chris would hit that sound effect. Already. Real quick, guys, rumble.com/freshfit. We're multi-streaming this right now on YouTube and on Rumble. Hey, this episode, you might actually be able to keep it on YouTube because we're not going to be talking about bell sound. Yeah, there you go. So check us out over there on rumble.com/freshfit, guys. You can watch us on either one. But just make sure to like the video on YouTube. That's all I ask. Open up both browsers if you can and watch us on both, man. And we'd really appreciate it. Also, guys, check us out at freshandfit.locals.com. Also, get the merch at freshandfitstore.com. Shout out to Fresh for switching up the URL if you guys want to get the t-shirts and the merch. And then also Fresh Fit Clips, guys, our YouTube channel, our Clips YouTube channel. We're going to actually go back to posting 6 videos on there per day. Yeah. We messaged our guys. We let them know, hey, we need more content up there. So it's growing rapidly. 80% of you guys are not subscribed though. So please subscribe to that channel.
Yeah, we need one more of these guys.
Yeah, we want another million plaque on that one. Then also, guys, subscribe to the other one, more Fresh Fit Clips. We're trying to get that one to 100K. And then also check us out on Spotify. If you guys want to get the audio and video versions of the podcast, uncut, by the way, they're all there. So if it's the full versions that are on Rumble are also there on Spotify if you want. And Mo's telling me no. Why? Cha-ching. Yeah. No, you can do it on Spotify. No, you can't. Yeah, you can. You can. Yeah, you can do it on Spotify.
Oh. Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
But don't worry about it. Then I spoke with. All right, never mind. Yeah. Spotify isn't is lame.
Cool.
Also, guys, check us out on Fresh Blood.
And guys, we're going to be in Colombia next week for some content and some podcasts.
What day do we go there?
The 19th, my friend. And actually, we're going to vlog most of that inside the house, outside the house. We can see on YouTube, by the way. And then other than that, we'll put rest on locals. But if you're in the Studio Network as well, we're doing a mastermind there. So go tap into that. See you guys in Colombia. Let's go.
and check me out, guys, on Fundraiser on Spotify and on YouTube. As you guys know, I break down criminal cases over there. So yeah, go check it out. The last one I did was the Charles Manson murders, and then I also did the YNW Melly case. I covered his trial. But anyway, without further ado, man, we got a special guest in the house, man. We got Ryan Dawson.
And I'm banned on all that stuff you just said, except Twitter.
Twitch. Oh man, so
banned on Vimeo, Twitch, PayPal, Patreon, Discord, all that stuff, Live League, banned on all that stuff.
Is Rumble your only platform, bro?
Twitter's the only platform. Well, I have Rumble now.
Rumble and Twitter. Damn, Rumble and Twitter. And guys, all his links are below, so make sure to go ahead and support him. He's actually redoing his 9/11 documentary, modernizing it a bit. If you guys haven't seen it, it's
the Empire Unmasked is up. It's gibsongo.com/9/11. So,
and it's linked below, guys, to get a modern version of it. Some of you guys saw I did the Numek reaction on Fed Reacts. A lot of you guys were blown away by it, and I'm trying to tell y'all, man, if you guys want another version of that, but a 9/11 version, go ahead and support. I'm going to be supporting on there as well, donating money to it. Obviously doing production is expensive, guys. He has a goal that he wants to hit, but it needs to get out there. I think it's very important. If you guys haven't seen already, we've covered 9/11 extensively. I think this is part 4.
Part 4.
We covered 3 different parts on 9/11. We covered the Saudi Arabian involvement, the
other countries' involvement. Yeah,
covered the U.S. deep state involvement with neocons. We covered a lot, guys. When it comes to 9/11, we covered everything.
And the full videos are on Rumble.
Yes, the full videos are on Rumble, guys. So if you guys want to go ahead and get the, we start them on YouTube, but then once we get into certain topics, we obviously go over to Rumble. But yeah, man, I mean, and I would say probably your 9/11 research is what got you banned, because you uncovered things that people probably didn't want people to know, huh?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I got banned in 2005 off of MySpace for that and AOL.
MySpace.
Yeah,
Being banned on AOL was worse because AOL was basically the internet at that time.
Wow.
Yeah, I got kicked off MySpace for 9/11 research.
Is that even possible?
Like, I don't even like, bro. How do you like?
It's like legit. That was the most friendly site you could use back in the day. And ultimately speaking, bro, like AOL, bro, that's like life. You got banned from life, bro. Literally, that's wild.
Everyone said, "Where'd you go?" Because I would pop up on radio stations sometimes, but that was it. There's nowhere to go for a while. And of course, I was banned on Facebook and all that normie stuff. But we got to talk about the 9/11 kook movement. And
right,
you
so
said, Myron in the intro said, debunking conspiracies that are not true. Well, we spent 3 shows in about 9 hours going over the main conspiracy that's not true, which is the official story. But are you guys familiar with the term light switch brain?
No. Fill us in.
I did not create this term, but I love it. I used to just call them basic bitches. But light switch brain is somebody who's always A or B. So if you don't agree with them on A, then you have to be B. So if you don't agree with all their kook nonsense, then you're just a shill for the official story. Oh, you don't support my war in Iraq, then you hate the troops. If you're not A, you must be B. And there's no in between. And a lot of these conspiracooks are light switch brains. They're in a cult. Most of them just saw a video on YouTube, like Loose Change, and that became their new religion. And it's amazing to me because videos like that, and Loose Change is on Netflix, and it's a 9/11 documentary that didn't get anything right other than the date.
Wow.
Yeah. No. And I think that's why this episode is so important because there's a lot of kooks out there, and basically for the audience, so you guys are probably wondering, what is a kook? A kook is someone who just goes above and beyond, right? And what ends up happening a lot of the times is you get guys that are researchers that come up with these wild conspiracies that aren't nowhere near true, but what it does is it invalidates all the legitimate research that proves, conspiracy. So what ends up happening is the entire how do I say this? The entire real story looks bad because all the kooks poison it with stupid shit like, what are some of the common ones? A missile hit the Pentagon, holograms, crisis actors,
mini nukes,
thermite, controlled demolition, right? With thermite, the other big one is that the beams melted because of the jet fuel, like all of these things that people like legitimately push for the better part of a decade plus, and people think, oh, all these things are real, or worse yet, they'll think, oh, none of that stuff is real. These guys are all crazy. There is no 9/11 conspiracy, and then bam, it takes you away from the real stuff. And then guys like Ryan will tell you what really happened, and they ban them instantly. They leave the crazy stuff up, but they always get rid of the guys that were actually onto something. If you guys
amplify the kook stuff and they silence anything that gets over the target. Nietzsche said the most perfidious way of harming a cause consists in defending it deliberately with faulty arguments. I rephrase that and say nothing hurts your side more than a moron arguing on your behalf. And that's what you have. They create a tar baby so that people will reject something categorically because all they've heard is nonsense. When I first met Scott Ritter in Texas, someone brought up 9/11, which I didn't even want to get into. So I said, okay. And I started in it. And he's looking at me, and I can see his eyes rolling like, oh, God, not another one of these people. Which later he changed his mind. He's on board. But I can't get my foot in the door to start, because you know me, I'll name real names, went over the documents, did the FOIA requests, all that.
Yep.
But I can't get my foot in the door to start explaining what happened, because we have to explain what didn't happen first.
Yeah.
Because of Alex Jones. Like all these crazies from Jim Fetzer to the Jason Burmis's stuff, who's the alien guy, David Icke. These people, they all got on his show, which had millions of people watching. This is a guy that said, there are crisis actors for every school shooting, and there's earthquake machines and all kinds of crazy crap, Fukushima radiation coming to your doorstep in California. Yeah, he's just the gift that keeps on giving. And so people are right to be skeptical of the government story. The government has some hilarious stuff. But the reason that conspiracy has a stigma, the word even conspiracy just sounds like tinfoil hat weirdos, is because there are a lot of weirdos, and they are the loudest ones, and their voices are amplified. And Jonestown was the worst because the damage he did by promoting Loose Change and Richard Gage and these people was so harmful that it's become irreversible. I'm hoping like a platform this size to finally hear the antidote might start undoing some of the damage. But because if I talk to someone one-on-one, I can reverse their position. But there's a million of them, and they got a zillion ad hoc hypotheses. And so I don't know what else to do other than they list them all, because look, the government lies too. Look at that. They blamed Benghazi on a YouTube video. They said Russia blew up their own pipeline. The whole Russiagate stuff, the whole Mexican beer thing that they were dead wrong about.
Oh, yeah.
That there again, the crazies come in, the virus deniers or people saying 5G interacts with graphene and all that. They made the RFK Juniors and the reasonable people seem like kooks because they're arguing against the Mexican beer 19 also, but from a perspective that's way out in left field with a bunch of ridiculous nonsense. And that happened with 9/11. That happened with Iraq, we went to war for oil people and stuff and petrodollar people. It happened with JFK. It happened with RFK. Or it's MK Ultra polka dot dress, or maybe it's his driver or his wife was in on it. All this ridiculous stuff. It creates an ether of stupid that's so thick that you can't get to the bottom of it. And what happens is people just give up. Because if you're just getting on Google and say, I wonder what actually happened on 9/11, all you're going to run into is kook theories. It's like a 9/11 dragnet. The first things you're going to come across is airplane deniers or the 9/11 half planers where they admit planes in New York but deny them in Washington. And it's just been an endless headache for myself because I did all this work on 9/11. I have a twin brother, very similar. He discovered the Lost Colony. He's been on HBO. He's been on Max. He's been on Discovery Channel. And with what happened to Croatoans and what happened to the Lost Colony of Roanoke. And then it just gets sandwiched in there with all this spookadoo nonsense. So it just becomes one camp among many. And it shouldn't be like that because one's accurate and based on real information and archaeology. Mine's based on our own FBI admits, the Saudi role. And we went over all the other people's role.
Yeah.
You can't say it on YouTube. Isn't that something? You can't say it on YouTube. A terrorist attack that killed Americans, and you're not allowed to tell American people what happened.
And I also want to say, like, the thing I like about your research is you're not just saying, okay, this happened and just leave it like that. Like, you name names, you name businesses they're attached to, you have declassified documents from FOIAs that you've done. Like, for anyone that hasn't seen the podcast that we did before, we did a very thorough analysis on who was actually behind 9/11 with names, documents, footage, proof. Like, I mean, it's pretty damn irrefutable. Anyone that, even if you're skeptical, right? If you saw the 2004 9/11 Commission report and then you go and you watch our podcast and you watch it back to back to back while the recaps and everything else, timestamps are there, guys. I don't want to hear no excuses. You can literally see, God damn, we had basically a collusion between the U.S. deep state, certain state that we won't name, right? Saudi Arabia. Right. And Al-Qaeda was involved. Right. But there was, a bunch of stuff going on. Right. That facilitated Al-Qaeda being able to do it. Were we attacked by terrorists? Yes, absolutely. But they did not do it alone. And
Al-Qaeda was never separate from intelligence agencies from its inception when they created it in Afghanistan. It was never just some organic fighting force that had ties to U.S. and Paki intelligence the whole time.
So, so for anyone that hasn't seen it, guys, please go back and watch that stuff. As someone that used to work for the U.S. government that actually believed the official narrative, I've been convinced, guys, it was 100% an inside job alongside with other foreign governments and intelligence agencies. And I'm not saying that terrorists didn't attack us. They absolutely did, but they didn't do it alone, man. For you guys to think that some guy in the cave that had a couple $1 million, pulled off one of the worst terror attacks ever seen in the modern world without some type of government aid or intelligence agencies, you're crazy if you don't think he did it without help.
And then stole anthrax from the U.S.'s labs and had it blamed on Iraq.
We're going to talk about Iraq. And here's the thing, too, guys, just so you guys know, we're going to cover a bunch of these conspiracies. We're going to cover, obviously, the Iraqi war, why we really went to war in Iraq, which Scott Ritter alluded to. We're going to cover the JFK assassination. We're going to cover the RFK assassination. And it's kind of interesting because RFK knows who killed his father, but he won't say everyone that was involved for obvious reasons. But, we know that. I'll tell you all this. The official narrative is Sirhan killed him. Nope, that's not true. And even RFK knows that.
I think it's safe to
They
say.
blamed it on a Palestinian Christian. Who would do that?
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that like anything you see online that's pushed in your face, that's going to be around 9/11, that's telling you, hey, you know what, this is what really happened. Think for yourself, okay, if this is happening in real time, is that actually what happened? Why they're pushing it to me versus what Ryan is saying is all hidden behind the scenes or banned right away. So
yeah, the real stuff always gets banned. They let you keep the crazy stuff up. That's why Loose Change is still on YouTube, guys. You know what I mean? Like, so it is what it is. And the new Pearl Harbor, good documentary, but they left out two different, government agencies that were involved.
They also acted like there was no footage of them coming through the security, and that's not true. There's a whole bunch of mistakes in that film.
Yeah.
It was it's very frustrating for someone like me to watch stuff like that, because not only what they're omitting, it's even the stuff they did say is still not correct.
Yeah.
It's like someone trying to name people in the Office of Special Plans and mangling all the names. Somebody.
But how do you combat that? Because you already know the truth. How do you ever like fight them head to head? Because it's like, yo, they're out here on a platform, but you're not. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Honestly, that's why we got to do it.
Yeah.
Because other platforms aren't. I told y'all before, like other platforms are just scared to platform certain people, and we just got to do it. We got to be the ones. If it's the truth, hey, we're bringing it on, and it is what it is. And like I said before, there's no other 9/11 researcher that is more educated on this and has more declassified documents, more FOIAs, more proof. He's naming names, actual names. Like, all right, so I'll hit these chats real quick, and then we'll get into
Cool.
the stuff.
I'll tell you what you do is you network. I mean, it's like Sneeko. If it wasn't for Sneeko, y'all might not know who I was, and and then people are going to know me because I'm on your show, and you just keep going on more shows and telling the truth. But it takes other people have to have courage, because they're scared to say, "Oh, I don't want that guy on," even if I agree with everything he said, because I'm scared of getting canceled.
Yeah, a lot of people on YouTube like that, dude.
And it's taking the free market too, because there is a Rumble. YouTube has to change its behavior. They can't just flippantly ban everybody because there's somewhere else to go now.
Yeah. Shout out to Rumble, man.
Yeah.
Chris is super lazy today. It's like normal lazy, but he's wearing a cape. Okay, thanks. Derek Turner again. Chris is not running away from hard work. He's too lazy to run. He's just here to make fun of Chris.
Who's this guy?
Daniel Carey Meehan. And guys, from this point forward, just because we got a lot to go through, we're gonna go 50 and up. But I'll read all the chats that came through. He goes, I love that y'all are expanding into geopolitics, and FNF collab with Dan Bogino would be fire. Keep up the great work. #1 podcast for men. We got you, man. Derek the Trader goes, Chris' biggest fear about becoming a zombie is all the walking you have to do. All right. Chris is a bum from Michaka. Yes, I agree. Right. What happened to the debris of the towers? We're going to talk about that. Don't worry.
It's in a scrapyard in New Jersey.
Big player JD goes, Myron, can you do the Long Island killer and was tied into the Manorville butcher? Video as he was arrested today after 10 years. His name is Rex Hurman, an architect. I'm also from Long Island myself. Okay, I'm gonna look into that, because I with this guy. He literally got arrested today, huh? Wow. Okay.
I'm not going over that today. I'm saying.
Yeah. I'll text Angie right now. Del Fam asked Ryan who the other person was that the ADL said was blaming certain state for 9/11. Hint: 9/11 missing links seen by many millions since 2008.
That was Mike Delaney, and he got his information from me.
There you go, my friends.
And isn't it funny? There's an article.
What the?
Like, I gave it to him. He didn't steal it Whitney Webb style. I gave him the information willingly.
Yeah. And there's an article that. Wait, okay. You know what? Go ahead.
No, I'm just reading.
You can pull up the ADL. The ADL being a hit piece, I take as a badge of credibility, because the ADL is a Zionist racist organization that gave awards to murderers and criminals, rapists, and organized crime bosses. They gave they gave awards to Barry Kershaw, who did the sweetheart deal for Jeffrey Epstein. They gave awards to Dershowitz, who's been accused of raping kids in Les Wexner's house. They gave awards to Mo Dalitz, who used to just murder people for sport, and one to Hank Greenspun, who's a weapons smuggler and also a murderer and a thief. I mean, the ADL is a criminal organization. They ought to just call it the Defamation League.
Okay.
Fair enough.
And just because they bash on a couple white separatists now and then, so what? I mean, they have the same ideology. They picked a different team.
Muhammad Atta goes, thanks, Myron, for doing works and spreading awareness. Could you host a debate between Sam Shamoon versus Uthman, and that would be legendary. Nick Fuentes wanted to happen to. I don't know who those guys are, but I'll look into it. Careful of Zerka. Seemed like he had cloud tracer been bashing Ryan Dawson and Andrew Tate. He is no different from 3 or 4 posting messages on IG. Issues are solved behind closed doors, not public. Don't worry, we got it figured out.
Whatever. That guy's a flat earther that denies dinosaurs. He's a donkey. Nobody listens to him. They listen to him because he's funny, but no one's like looking for any kind of intellectual content from Zerka.
All right. So FYI, guys, I didn't let them through. It wasn't me, and that's a Border Patrol. Fair enough.
Okay.
Various Layers goes, have a great evening, gentlemen. Big Bossing and CEO Network. All right.
Shout
And
out
then
Cody.
Sonny goes, we are breaking records. I was even surprised that Destiny even thank you for platform him. And can each one of you gentlemen recommend a book on finance, history, or politics? For finance, man, start with Rich Dad Poor Dad and then work your way from there.
That's it. Set for life. For
Dean's
me.
World. Thank you guys. I'm back from on the right track. I'm getting my financial plan together. I'm working out down to 9% body fat. I'm only getting better. Good stuff, my friend. Myron, did you or do you still face racism after 9/11 through and for life? Yeah, I mean, you're always going to get profiled as as a Muslim Arab, and I get it from all sides, but I don't cry about it. That's why these FBAs are morons. Join me fresh, and that's from Myron Bixby.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good off of that.
Light Skin Graper. Destiny took a big L. Nick Fuentes is the greatest ever. I don't care what Ryan says. Love Ryan takes on this topic, though. WFNF, Chris, you a bum. And then FitX Fearless collab in Colombia. That's from Denadre. If he's a Medellin, yeah,
we'll see.
Super chats. Okay, appreciate that. And then where are we at here? And then 0-0 goes, hits the bell a bunch of times. And then Freshest Dog, W Ryan, but what would your solution to stop letting them boys influencing our government? It's not going to happen, bro. Let's keep going, though. Because we're on YouTube. Swiss engineer Hans Benjamin Braun found out that the Nord Stream gas pipeline in Europe was recently blown away by a thermonuclear bomb. Did you hear that, Ryan?
Jesus.
There you go. Ask Ryan who left the coke in the White House.
Oh,
so
shit.
We know who did that. Ryan to drop them boys' knowledge on some 405s.
Oh, the documents, huh? 405s?
Ricky Garcia. I don't know. I don't know what 405s are.
Oh.
If he means FBI documents are 302s, I don't know what 405s are. Is that a particular document, Ryan? Or
no, he just got a number wrong, I think.
All right, fair enough.
Cool.
All right, so and we know who left the coke in the White House. But all right, so Ryan, I guess we'll start off with the.
It's not hard to own that blue-haired sodomite either. I mean, he's a moron.
You know what? Maybe I'll have you debate him on 9/11 because he doesn't think that
he won't do it.
A certain state was involved.
Well, this because he's ignorant of. He's ignorant. I mean, that guy's just Snopes and CNN.
All right. Well, I'll ask him if he wants to do it. Because it's the debate kind of started when we're at the sushi spot, and I was like, man, you know what, bro? I'm not even gonna. You could talk to Ryan about this. But anyway,
and here's our last chat. If you want to read it.
Last one. Yeah. All right. Clint Beastwood goes: are Catholics beholden to a foreign power in the same way Zionists are? No, my friend.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. All right, at the same level. All right, so cool. Ryan, we're gonna go ahead and open up your this is 9/11 for grown-ups, which is funny that you have to even name it that.
You do. You have to delineate yourself from the 9/11 Truth movement because it's a great name, 9/11 Truth. It's this. Myself and this guy named Tyler created 9/11 Truth on MySpace, and 6 days after that, I was banned. But they've taken over the name now, so I don't want to use it. I say 9/11 Truth for grown-ups because these people aren't grown-ups.
Yeah,
they run around with catchphrases, mostly from Alex Jones, Pull It, Larry Silverstein, No Building Ever Fell from Fire, it fell in a footprint in 6 seconds, blah, blah, blah. And it's all crap from Alex Jones. It's not even their own words. It's a cult.
Yeah, Alex Jones.
There's 2 ways to kookify something. I have to stress this. One is by attaching it to crazy, right? Denying airplanes, holograms, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
The other way is to attach it to some kind of unforgivable social ill. So, well, if you don't support our war, then you don't support the troops, or you hate the military or something, or you're a racist, or you're anti-Semitic, or something like that. And because if you come at it from that perspective, even though a racist person could still be correct, they just happen to be racist, that doesn't mean they're wrong about everything they're saying. No one's going to accept the message because it's like that is just an unforgivable social ill. Yeah. So that's what they do. And a lot of the criticism of the one we're not even allowed to name on YouTube, the comeback, the counter shot is you're anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
Which is just a canard. And they do that about the Palestine issue. They do that about the war in Syria, anything else they're involved in, stealing nuclear weapons, attacking the USS Liberty. They'll say, well, you just must hate them boys if you're going to talk about what them boys did. Or Islamophobia is another one.
The internet.
What they do.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. All right. We just had a little bit of lag, but all right, Ryan. So let's get into the first. What's the first one that you want to debunk? We're gonna go over the.
The most annoying one is probably the Pentagon. So you can scroll down there. So stop right there. Go up a little bit. This is a screenshot from Loose Change.
Okay.
They act like, and they told everyone for a long time until I started getting on their case about it. They slowly started removing these pictures from websites, but they show the hole in the second floor because there's a big, water spraying across and a truck in the way, blocking the hole on the first floor. And they say there's no way an airplane fit into a 16-foot hole. And if you look at that hole, you go, yeah, that doesn't look like a plane would fit in there, because that's only a piece of the hole. They specifically and purposely chose photographs that never show the bottom floor. So you scroll down a little bit more. I zoomed in on it. They literally put that on a whole bunch of 9/11 kook websites and acted like there's no way a plane went in there. And so if your premise is wrong, your conclusion doesn't matter, because you can get a whole bunch of people to agree with you that a plane didn't squish into a hole like that. The problem is, that's not the hole. Scroll down a little more.
Pause real quick. I want to say this real quick, because I can already see people in the chat saying, wait, hold on, there's no wing holes. Just wait, guys, until you see what's going to come up.
Yeah, because that's the second floor. It hit the first floor.
All right, scroll down, Chris. Let's go ahead and show it. Bam, there you fucking go, baby.
Yeah, I think you can click on that and get it bigger, too.
Yeah, look at that.
Look at that bottom floor. All that black is where the wings went in. Some of the wings are full of fuel, so they kind of hit and blow up.
Goddamn.
There's no plane, guys.
Yeah,
no plane at all.
For all the guys that say, "Oh, where are the wings?" But damn, that's a picture right there that they're not going to show you. All the fucking kooks, man. All right, and let's go ahead and kill the Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch feeds real quick, guys. Come on over to YouTube or Rumble, rumble.com/freshfitman, rumble.com/freshfit. Come on over right now. We got almost 10,000 y'all over on Rumble anyway. Come on over.
Open up your ears, guys, and your eyes as well.
And don't worry, we got more proof, by the way, that this was 100% hit by.
This is just basic stuff. Like, don't lie to people about the size of the entry hole, or show the exit hole and act like that's the entry hole, or show the second floor and act like that's the only hole. That's a lie.
So someone asked Ryan, so where's your plane?
Right there already, a missile doesn't make a 90-foot hole like that going horizontally.
All right, so Ryan, someone asked where's the plane? Do you want us to keep going down?
It's in the building.
Okay, enlarge it on.
Well, we're gonna show you that too. I just want to make sure, like, admit this first. Admit there's a giant hole. Admit you're wrong about the size of the hole before you go, what about? Like, bitch, acknowledge this first. Okay, there's a giant hole. I'm gonna show you pieces of the plane. It did not evaporate, because that's the other claim. Well, a plane couldn't just disappear or evaporate. I agree. And it didn't. They haven't seen the pictures of it because they never bothered to look for them. They just thought, oh, and some of them are even worse. They think, oh, the government put those there, charred up a plane, and then spread pieces of it all over. They just will not let this go. So you go back to the previous page.
Okay.
Yeah. Here's a little video because I want to make fun of the guys from Loose Change, because it was hilarious. They went on TV. One of them went on with Abby Martin, and the two of them are complaining about how 9/11 Truth has gotten kookified. And I thought, wow, because they're the original kooks that said there's a pod on the plane and that Flight 93 was shot down and a missile at the Pentagon and Flight 77 just disappeared or something. You can go ahead and roll that tape.
You want to show this video first or the picture?
Yeah, it's only 3 minutes or something. It's hilarious, though.
Okay. And then the picture of the plane after.
Mm-hmm.
All right, go ahead.
Dylan Avery from Loose Change was on with Abby Martin, and the two of them were having a chuckle about Sandy hoaxers and stuff, which is fine. someone they can pick on, I guess. People a little bit crazier than some of the shit that's come out of their mouths. But it just shocked me that Dylan Avery from Loose Change is saying, yeah, these people are so quick to say false flag about everything. 24 hours haven't even passed. And they're already saying things are fake, false flag, blah, 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 which is true. But, you know, he can't really complain about the kookers because he's the original fucking kook.
You know, really briefly, what do you think about kind of the movement being hijacked by kind of this everything's a conspiracy and everything's a false flag now?
You know, that's one of the reasons I had to walk away. In about 2006 is when it started. You know, you had the whole no planes at the World Trade Center nonsense and all that. So really, it really kind of came to a head 2006, 2007. And it was over the following couple of years where I realized you know, you say that you're for 9/11 truth and you could mean that you're for a new investigation into the attacks, but then they'll think, you know, whoever you're talking to, like, oh, you think that no planes.
So Sandy Hook didn't happen, right?
You're like, so Sandy Hook didn't happen. And I mean, like, everything's a false flag, you know.
All right, because that's going to be copyrighted music. So
it's just funny that it's the guy that's complaining about people saying there was no plane at the World Trade Center said there was no plane at the Pentagon.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so he doesn't even think the towers were hit by a plane?
No, he thinks the towers were hit by a plane, but he doesn't think the Pentagon was. And then other people came out and said, oh, even the towers weren't hit either. And he's complaining about that. Like, dude, you started this ball rolling down the hill by denying the first airplane. You're a 9/11 half planer. They're a no planer. They're equally retarded.
Do you want us to move forward here, or
just skip a few seconds?
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, yep, there you go.
Yeah, that's me.
And he's never clearly come out and said, okay, a plane hit the Pentagon. And he's not going to do that either. Oh, they are the original kooks.
You know, really briefly, what do you think about kind of the movement being hijacked by kind of this everything's a conspiracy and everything's a false flag now?
Who taught you how to do this stuff?
You, all right? I learned it by watching you.
And now, Paul Joseph Watson, who works for Melonhead Jones, is complaining and saying that 9/11 has been hijacked by the crazies. Yes, you're right. And guess who Captain fucking Crazy is? Alex Jones. Who promoted Loose Change? Alex Jones. Who promoted Jim Fetzer, who denies airplanes even existed? Alex Jones. Who has David Icke, who believes in aliens and shit on every month? Alex Jones. You would have never have heard of any of these dumb fuckers if it wasn't for Alex Jones. He is the springboard for kookery. And he himself has gone on and on about the Illuminati and Luciferians and all that other bullshit. So if you want to be mad at your boss, Paul. And whose video's never been on Jonestown's, never had an interview with Jones. You guys won't talk to him. And when other guests have brought me up, you censor it. Mine on War by Deception. And I guarantee once Empire Unmasked is out, Jones is not going to go near that with a 1,000-foot pole.
And he didn't.
You promoted the shoot down in 93. You promoted a missile hitting the Pentagon. Then you were like ambiguous about it. Oh, I'm not sure. Let's just talk about Building 7 all day. And you avoid the elephant in the room. You never talked about the Israeli role for starting the war in Iraq. Just you guys are the ones who originally hijacked 9/11. Now you got even crazier people hijacking 9/11, talking about holograms and crap like that. But the very same people that started that bullshit got their exposure from your boss, Alex Jones. So if you had any balls, you'd engage myself in a conversation about 9/11. But you don't have any balls because you know you'd lose your Jonestown privilege if you did that. And that's why you're not going to do it. We both know.
Goddamn.
So Ryan, you don't believe in aliens?
Well, this guy thinks that there are alien lizards that can turn into people and then back into lizards. That's what he's been going from the movie V. And you know, now Paul Watson no longer works for Alex Jones, but when he did, he was putting out stories about Fukushima radiation and saying Ebola is gonna go airborne and kill us all. It was like 2 people.
All right.
You know, and so it bothers me when people complain about kooks when they've been a kook their whole life and they never said, oh, you know what, I was wrong, and you know, changed their mind. They just ignored it. So it's hypocritical. And when Jones finally got thrown under the bus because he became a Trump pansy and they hate Donald Trump, Paul Watson, all these people that work for him didn't stick up for him at all. They're just like, I don't know the guy. Well, that's just low. Throwing people under the bus like that. That he did it to Alex makes me not care, because Alex Jones is almost solely responsible for why nobody knows anything about 9/11. His job is to get everybody barking up the wrong tree on any subject. They're all chasing a dog chasing its tail. And it's like, you guys are sitting there tinkering around about nanothermite when you had a foreign intelligence agency in a van with bombs that was fucking caught on the day of 9/11. You act like that just isn't real thing or something. Like, this isn't a mystery. This isn't rocket surgery. They're right there celebrating the attacks. And we went over it, you've heard it all, but they don't ever mention any of that stuff. It's always about the physics and acting like, well, planes can't disappear, which is a good premise, but it didn't disappear. Or the stupid one is saying, well, there's no way aluminum can break steel. Like, I got a video below of a fucking pumpkin going through a van. They don't understand what velocity is. That's amazing too. People are arguing about physics and stuff who don't know fourth grade physics. You got these architects and engineers, and let me defend the people who signed. What Gage did is he'll say, we have 3,000 or whatever, some number of architects and engineers that agree with us. No, you don't. You went and hassled people and browbeat them into signing up with you by saying, do you support an independent investigation in 9/11? And anyone that said yes, you check them off as if they agreed with your opinions on the architects and engineering.
Hold on. That's a big thing. So you're saying Richard Gage, who was probably one of the leading people,
he's a charlatan.
Because he's one of the, for anyone that's wondering here, because remember, the audience might not be as aware with the 9/11 situation and the people that had different theories. Richard Gage made things very popular, saying that it was controlled demolition. In other words, there were dynamite pretty much going off on each floor, because his big thing was,
that's one of his things. His other thing is saying a missile hit the Pentagon. So David Griffin and Gage tell this canard of, and this also comes from loose change, because everything Gage does is from loose change. He denies that, but in his first slides about 9/11, he's showing slides from the movie Loose Change, right? He's a liar. They made up this thing saying that there's no way a plane could smash through 6 reinforced walls of the Pentagon. And they show an aerial footage of the Pentagon with the rings, and they act like, well, it's got to go through 3 of these rings, 2 walls each, 6 different walls of reinforced steel and concrete. That's also a lie. Go back to the page, because I'm going to show you a blueprint of the Pentagon.
Okay.
This is like, your architectural or engineering opinion of a building doesn't matter if the architecture isn't correct. Like, you don't even know that the bottom floors don't have rings. So those are some pieces of plane right there. But
okay, so go down a bit. Do we keep going, Ryan?
You'll see a picture of the Pentagon. You'll see like a blueprint.
There we go.
Yeah, right there. There's a cutaway too. All right, so the image on the left there with that sort of orange color is showing you the crown shape of the Pentagon. From the top, it looks like there's a bunch of rings that it has to smash through. But if you look at the bottom, it's just a clear shot all the way to the C ring. 2 walls. That's it. And a bunch of sheetrock and stuff. And then I have the cutaway from when it was being built. You can see, you might have to zoom in on that, but people can go to my website and look at it. The top 3 floors are rings. That bottom floor where it says general offices is one big connected piece. There are no rings on the bottom floors. So to say it couldn't smash through 6 walls of reinforced concrete and steel, first of all, they weren't reinforced with concrete and steel. They're just brick. And they don't exist on the bottom floor. And it's like, this is basic shit. I have the blueprint below this. This is basic stuff. Like, you don't even have the structure of the building correct.
Wow. Okay.
So I've got, those are blueprints. There's the first floor. Look at that outer ring. It's all one continuous piece. There's no walls in the middle.
Gotcha.
And that's what it hit from the heliport area. That's all. It went through a wall, and then the landing gear punched out of the C ring. That was all. And we know that because there's a big tire and a piece of the landing gear sitting in front of the hole.
Okay.
I mean, goddamn.
All right. So do we scroll down more to get the pictures? Because they want to see the plane parts.
Oh, sure. Just go to the debris page. I think you have a tab open for that. Even I think you already looked.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, they're like there wasn't any pieces smaller than the. First of all, they found the black box. There that looks like a piece of the fuselage right there.
Proof right here for y'all.
Uh-oh.
Yep, that's a piece of landing gear right there. There's the black box. It's all twisted up, but it's got the American Airlines logo on it, even, and the serial number and stuff. It was right there. All that stuff. See those people? Let's say they're about 5'11" or whatever. All that stuff piled up there is pieces of airplane.
Yeah. Yep. There you go.
There you can see some of the painting of the lettering that's still on the plane. And look at the yard. There's another one. Let's pause this for a second. They're like, there's nothing in the yard. First of all, the lawn isn't even adjacent to the Pentagon. The parking lot is. You don't think about it. You don't have people park in the parking lot and then walk across the lawn. It goes building, parking lot, lawn. And there's debris on both anyway.
Ryan, question for you. This is going to have the pictures of the bodies, right? It's not edited?
There are bodies, so maybe you want to stop. Look, guys, you can go to my website and see a whole bunch of pictures of debris and plane parts, as well as bodies.
This is what we're going to do. Guys, come on over to Rumble. We're going to just switch over to Rumble so y'all can get the full unedited joint.
Yeah.
So, because we're about to show you guys dead bodies. So, guys, come on over to Rumble right now, rumble.com/freshfit. Or should I read these chats that came in? I'll read these real quick.
Yeah.
And we're going to finish going through because you guys are about to see some graphic pictures. For all the people that said, oh, no, it's not real. I love your show. Dylan Patterson goes, but I find it hilarious how you go into a fit of rage whenever Black Americans mention anything about history. You Arabs play the victim even more. All you do is complain and blame them boys for your issues. No, here's the difference. You can actually criticize Caucasians for oppressing you, but you cannot criticize them boys for being neocons and running the United States into the ground and into the wars that fuck us up in the long run. That's the difference, my friend. And yeah, I mean,
I've got a film on neocolonialism in Africa if you want to see it.
So, but
there's plenty of that to go around. But like Myron said, you can criticize European colonization and whatnot. You can't talk about we're not on Rumble yet, but the other one.
Yeah. So, dude, you know what, man? I'd be happy to debate any of these pro-blacks that want to sit here and cry and talk to me about you don't know about black issues and all this other bullshit. I'd happily debate any of you fucking losers on why you have a pussy mindset and why you're poor because you're an idiot versus the color of your skin. Racism no longer can hold you back in 2023, bro. And just to prove to you guys, in 1940, about 87% of blacks lived below the poverty line. By 1960, about 47% of blacks lived below the poverty line. And this was during the Jim Crow era when racism was at its strongest. So please explain to me, with racism actually happening back in the 1960s, before the civil rights era, they broke out of poverty. But nowadays in 2023, you're still poor and you want to blame the fucking white guy when you have more opportunities now than ever before. Get the fuck out. And guys, we're caught up, right? Because guys, we're reading 50 and up, so that's why. So all right, so cool. We're gonna kill the YouTube guys. Come on over to Rumble right now. Rumble.com/freshfit. We covered the first part here, but now we're gonna go into showing you guys the parts as graphic images. So come on over rumble.com/freshfit. Catch you there.
Let's go. All right, now we're free.
Now we're free. We can say what the fuck we want to say. Shout out to the Jews were
like, Jews. No.
The Jews were involved in 9/11. God damn it. Tired of all you guys not fucking wanting to say that shit, man. All right, go ahead. What were you saying, Rod?
No, I just was like took a big breath and went, Jews.
Yeah, they weren't.
It's ridiculous that you can't talk about a certain ethnic group because look, any group can commit crimes and does. And we're not talking about some kind of biological teleology, like they just have to act like this. We're just talking about the ones that did act like that. And it's beyond criticism. You can't criticize these groups because they'll accuse you of anti-Semitism. And again, like we were just talking, you can't criticize some of the mindset and bad behavior by minority groups without saying, oh, it's just because you hate those minorities. You hate blacks or something because you're asking people to, I don't know, speak with proper grammar instead of ebonics. You have to take things that are conducive to success and doing it as what you be and all that doesn't work. And that's on you. That's a you problem. That's not a racist problem. That's a you being a shithead problem. And you're not allowed to point out these obvious things because there's this culturally, there is this stigma about criticizing anybody, no matter how true it is, if they're not of the right racial religious category.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So, all right. So now let's go back to the plane parts. Now we can finally show what we want to show here because we're on Rumble. Okay. So we're covering the plane parts here for everyone that said that,
there's no plane, bro.
There's no plane. So keep scrolling down, Chris, please. All right. So you guys can see more plane parts.
There's some more of the fuselage, and you got to think a plane's mostly a tube, so it's going to be crushed.
Yeah.
But they found that's actually a section of the undercarriage from the wing.
Okay, keep going.
Yep.
More plane.
And all that is debris. Hold on, they can't just fly past that pile. Like, these are all pieces from the plane.
Yep.
And some of that debris is, messed up luggage and whatnot. But it was pretty shredded, and you can see a lot of it's burned.
Yeah.
But there it is. Here's a body still in its seat.
Look at that.
There's the body burned off. The whole guy is charred. You can see. Yep.
Another looks like
there's two bodies right there.
Yep.
And that guy's still strapped in 83. And there is lots of these. I think 2 pictures was enough, but they're acting like, where are the bodies? There's bodies. In fact, every single person on that plane, except for the baby, was identified by DNA, which was sent to Walter Reed, and dental records. They found every single passenger. Nobody evaporated except for the baby, unfortunately. So,
wow.
There's one of the wheels.
There you go.
And then Walter Reed's not in on it. Okay. It's not like the hospital and the medics and stuff are like, yeah, we're just going to fake this DNA because actually it's a methyl. And there's just sort of a montage of plane parts down there.
Wow. Yeah.
The engine rotor, the landing gear, certain casings, wheels, pieces of just the fuselage.
Blue Trains didn't show any of this, did they?
Fuck no. They didn't even show the hole.
Oh my God. All right, let's keep going.
So there, all right, on the left, that's right in front of the hole out of the C-ring, which was, they're like, there's no way this soft nose cone of a Boeing made of aluminum. It's not the soft nose cone. It's the landing gear. They didn't put the landing gear down, right? When you land a plane to live, you put the wheels down. When you're not trying to land the plane because you're aiming it at a building, you leave it up. And when it's up, you just have a big steel casing with a tire on it. That's what's in the nose. And that's what went through. And there's a big tire. You can see the tire and the pieces of the landing gear right in front of the hole.
Yeah.
And then there's they moved it. You can see the mud. They said the hoses have been on everything, but it's pretty intact. That's what's punched through. Here's another one from inside. Look at all these columns bent toward the left, right? You see the sunlight on the right.
Yeah.
The whole collapsed. The building, the floors above collapsed into the holes. So that's all that debris and crap.
Yeah.
But Barbara, what's her face, hosing something. She acts like there was a bomb in the Pentagon and that the columns bend out. No, they don't. They all bend in. Every single one of those is curved to the left, especially when you got the mouse on right there. They didn't break, but the impact of the plane had enough force to bend it. Some of them broke, but you can see there's one broken, but some of them just bent. The ones the fuselage plowed through were snapped. And the ones the engines hit, but the ones the wings hit just sort of bent a little bit. Right. Those wooden stacks are to prevent the floor from collapsing further, but you can see the columns are completely snapped there. And you have some more. One has a plastic bag around it. That was a broken column where a plane busted through. More plane parts. There's more. That's a whole bunch of different plane parts right there, actually.
Can you imagine?
And they're like, where does it evaporate? Does that look like it's evaporated?
No.
Yeah.
There's more landing gear from the back. Those are the back tires, the metal casing, like the hubcap part, sitting there.
I can't.
You have a piece of,
in that plane when it's about to crash, bro. Like,
you know what they'll do? They'll say, well, that's not a Rolls-Royce engine. Let's count the spokes. They'll act like it's a different plane. It's like, dude, give it up. It's Flight 77. And it's very important to admit this, because if you don't acknowledge that Flight 77 hit the Pentagon and you don't have a plane, then you don't have the people on that plane. And if you don't have the hijackers that are on that plane, then you don't have the paper trail of Nawif al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Midhar getting money from Omar Bayoumi and Osama Basnan, who got the money from the Saudi state. That whole thing disappears because you're acting like there were no hijackers, or that there wasn't even a. They also don't explain where Flight 77 went. You have 144 witnesses that saw a plane go to the Pentagon. 0 saw it fly away from the Pentagon because it didn't fly away from the Pentagon. It ran into it.
And I want to.
There's no motive for this switcheroo shit. It's not like, well, we know that we're going to say Al Qaeda ran a plane into the building, so we're instead of just running a plane into the building, we're going to hit it with a missile and then plant a bunch of plane parts, and we're going to get all the EMTs, all the firemen, all the police, all the witnesses on I-95, 495, 395, and then all the people at Walter Reed, and all the employees in the Pentagon and the victim's family who heard the phone call, all to go along with the conspiracy and pretend like they saw the plane and had pieces of plane, but actually it was a missile. Or Loose Change lied about the hole, denied that there were parts, and tried to say everyone else is in on it and lying. You don't need to do that. What makes more sense? A plane hit the Pentagon. That's why everybody saw it. And that's why there's pieces of plane still in there and DNA evidence of all the passengers. And that's why the medics, the firemen, the police, and the employees and the witnesses all agree, is because it's true. There's no reason to swap the plane out for a missile. And a missile fired from what? A missile launcher next to the Pentagon, just sitting there in the yard, hit it, or some, Al Qaeda or somebody to get an F-15. And it's just so dumb. And they never give you evidence for a missile. Their quote unquote evidence is supposed lack of evidence for a plane, but there is not a lack of evidence for a plane. It's still in the building. So are the passengers who were on that plane. All got identified except for the baby. I mean, that's it for the Pentagon. It was hit by a plane. Another important piece, aside from tracing back the hijackers to the Saudi state, is the fact that the vice president, Dick Cheney.
Yes, I was going to ask you.
According to testimony from Norman Mineta, the transportation secretary, as well as others that were in the POC bunker, said, as the plane was coming in, 30 miles out, 20 miles out, they said the orders still stand, and Cheney whips his neck around. Of course, the orders still stand. He refused to shoot down the plane. Now, they will claim, the neocons, when I say they, he's talking about Flight 93, the one that went down in Shanksville. Well, what was that 30 miles or 20 miles out from? Because that's a hell of a lot further away from the White House, which they said was the target, than 30 miles. It was the Pentagon. And the thing is, and this is according to the flight records of a plane, Haji Hanjor, if that's who was flying it, took 2 attempts. They came in too high in altitude, so he couldn't dive down and hit it. So he looped back around, and this isn't some corkscrew Top Gun maneuver. It's a miles-long loop, and then comes in a second time at a lower altitude and hits the first floor, which is not some genius thing. Anybody that can land a plane on a runway can hit a building in the first floor. It's the same feat. You get the plane level with the ground, you put down the landing gear, and then you go. It's easy to hit the first floor. That's the exact same thing you would do if you were going to land a plane, except you don't put the landing gear down and you don't decelerate. They're so stupid. That's what they went with. And so he had 2 chances to shoot that plane down and refused to do it. And it gets Cheney off the hook, which is also a link to the U.S. government, because you have the second highest official in the land refusing to order the plane to be shot down. Now, obviously, and that there again, you have the FAA records. It's not a missile doing loops around Virginia. I think people would have seen that. It's Washington, D.C. There are a few people that live there. It's an airplane. God damn.
Ryan, could you tell the people why he didn't shoot it down?
Because their whole point. Cheney and Tenet and Richard Blee and these guys were in on it. They wanted to maximize damage for September 11th. They should have shot it down. You would think the World Trade Centers would be enough. They weren't. They didn't know whether those would collapse or not. I'll get to that in a second. But Dick Cheney, they wanted, if you look at what happened after 9/11, as well as with PNAC papers, Project for New American Century, every media outlet had the line to start comparing it to a Pearl Harbor. This is a new Pearl Harbor. And when you hit the Pentagon, it pisses off all that military brass, they lost people they knew. So the people in the military like wanting to go fuck somebody up, right? The thinking cap is off. It's pure emotion, but you hit us, you hit the Pentagon. That's embarrassing. You hit the financial and military centers of the United States. They need revenge. And they redirected that anger onto Iraq by lying about anthrax and mobile weapons labs and da-da-da-da. We've been over it before. They wanted war with Iraq.
It's all part of the agenda, pretty much.
And it's sick because Dick Cheney used to be the defense secretary before he was vice president. And when he was working under Bush Sr., he had a conversation with him when they said, why didn't you, quote unquote, finish the job after the first Gulf War and get Saddam? And Cheney admits to Bush because it would have created a quagmire. You can look this up, 1994. Cheney's on tape saying this. It would have threatened the territorial integrity of Turkey. It would have created sectarian violence between Kurds, Shia, and Sunni, which is exactly what did happen. He lays it all out. But later, when he's roped in with Kellogg, Brown, and Root and Halliburton, he doesn't mind a war in Iraq because he's going to personally profit so much from it. He didn't say a word. And George Bush Jr. went in and finished the job, and it did threaten territorial integrity of Turkey and split Iraq into Kurdistan, Sunni and Shia fiefdoms. That's exactly what happened. So he knew better and did it. Cheney's evil. He's not dumb. There's a difference. He did it on purpose. He knew what the consequences were going to be, and it didn't matter.
Wow. Welcome to the U.S., man. Jeez.
He let military personnel die instead of shooting down that plane.
He got off
and you let him off the hook when you're like, what plane? It was a missile.
Yeah, he got off scot-free, man. You want to keep going down that page? More debris, or you want to
go back to the first one? I mean,
first one, Chris.
They'll have other arguments about light poles and stuff. Listen, light poles are designed to fall down, but they are assuming a car is going to hit them, and they're designed to give way so it doesn't just split the car in half. A plane is way bigger and way heavier and way faster than a car, and it will knock down a light pole very easily.
So we don't want to hear no one talk about there was no plane and there was no major hole, because you guys have seen, as Ryan just showed us, there's a huge hole where the wings hit, spread out, and where the beams are bent. So you can see clearly as day with the rubble, debris, and everything else. And the bodies, there was a plane there. So
I even have an interactive map. If you scroll up, you look, it's written in white instead of gray. I think it's above that. Here, I'll find it. And it shows you which all beams were broken. There's an interactive map. It says interactive map. Go above that.
Is it down or
is it the debris page?
Go up, go up. I'm going up. Let's see.
Is it the other page or no?
Here, I'll just send it to Myron.
It's part of the other page.
It's right above. You can see it's right above. When you see Corn Pop's Revenge on the right side, it's below that. You'll see Google image of Pentagon debris, interactive map, and DNA was collected.
Let's see.
Yeah. Well, that's on the debris page. That's no, go back.
Yeah,
I'll give it to you.
See it here.
I'm going to send it to
here?
it's a zip file. So maybe you won't be able to open that. There's Pentagon debris. That's just more, right? Even more stuff. Took 2 seconds to go on Google, right? Pentagon debris, and you can already see pieces of plane
on the internet, so you can look at it yourself. Honestly,
super easy. That interactive map, there it is. It's on the
there
right.
you go.
That will go to a zip file. So maybe I don't know if you can open that, but if you go through there, it shows you all the columns that got smashed. This is people's homework, if you like. All the columns that got smashed, and it shows you the path of the plane. It's nobody there disagrees with this. But they went around saying it's a missile, it's a missile. The missile's not going to do that kind of damage. There is no motive. There is no evidence. And there's a lot of reasons to deny an airplane because it erases the paper trail back to the vice president as well as the Saudi state.
So, Ryan, what would happen?
And the other thing it does is you look fucking retarded. when people are talking about 9/11, and you're like, well, there ain't no plane. You sound like some QAnon shaman.
Ryan, what,
It's just you're right there that no one wants to hear it. And you're never going to get back to the Israeli and Saudi role in 9/11 if you're denying airplanes.
right. So I guess my question is, what
I was looking
happened?
for the Norman. What I was looking for just now was I was looking for the Norman Mineta testimony where he said that does the order still stand? Because that's really important when he says that, because he wasn't supposed to say that.
Oh,
because he died last year.
Yeah, can you explain that real quick? Who he was? He was, I think, if he was the Secretary of Transportation, if I'm not mistaken. So
Right.
when the towers,
So they're in this
go ahead.
POC bunker. So it's sort of their little makeshift headquarters because America's under attack. Bush can't be found. Rumsfeld can't be found. Cheney's doing everything.
Bush is coming back from Florida.
Bush is reading a book. Yeah, he's reading My Pet Goat.
Yeah, who's reading Children in Sarasota, Florida. That's where Bush was.
Mm-hmm.
Smart.
So he's out, and they get him out of there. So Cheney's in the POC bunker in DC calling the shot. Condoleezza Rice is there. Norman Mineta's there. A bunch of Bush's brass is in this bunker, and they're telling them, they're trying to bring in the Army chiefs of staff and things, that there's another plane coming to DC, which they'll deny and say it's Pennsylvania, but they're lying. And I've gone through the timeline in Empire Unmasked, like proving that they're lying. I read all their books and things and got them contradicting themselves. But 30 miles out from what? 20 miles out from what? It's the Pentagon. He did two shots at it. Came in too high, came in again lower, and was successful the second time. They easily could have shot down Flight 77. They didn't scramble anything. They didn't do anything. And another thing that was confusing at the time is there was actually a drill similar to 9/11 going on when 9/11 happened. And some of them were confused. They said, is this real or exercise? Well, they know this is real. So they didn't have things in place. They're not as invincible as people seem. There was an airplane that was stolen on September 11th in the 90s. I think it was 96, that hit the White House lawn, took out the tree that's on the back of a $20 bill. And he stole it on September 11th. He landed on September 12th. But a plane made it all the way to the White House and hit the lawn. That could have gone in the window. That could have hit Bill Clinton. Nothing shot it down. Nobody did anything. They don't have this invincible airspace with SAMs all around DC. They protect the coastline. They weren't really prepared for a domestic attack from a commercial plane.
Oh, wow.
Now they've changed, hopefully. But before, all the radar didn't even stay with him in Maryland. He had plans to get married. He'd write letters to his girlfriend. That guy just disappeared. The only evidence they have that he was on that plane, because he did go through security, but he ducked out with the ramp crew, is they allegedly found his passport with a little corner burned in Shanksville. Sure you did.
So hold on real quick, Ryan, because they got they apparently, I think something froze on Rumble. Guys, you just have to refresh your page and it'll be fine. Can we put that in the chat for the people? Let them know to refresh their page and they'll be fine. So let me get this straight. So just so people understand here, right? So the hijackers of the plane that went into the Pentagon, one of them was an Arab, but the reality is his first cousin was a member of Israeli intelligence.
No, the Flight 93 in Pennsylvania had an Israeli mole on it.
Oh, okay.
The guys on Flight 77, we have so much evidence of them getting financial and logistical support from Saudi intermediaries.
Yeah. So
a 93 is a Ziyad al-Jarrah. His cousin Ali al-Jarrah and Yusuf al-Jarrah were both moles that had been spying on Hezbollah. One of them had been there since the 80s from its inception. And they caught him. And I mean, they went through their house and their computers and this dead to rights spies for Israel, Arab spies.
Yeah.
And they're blood relatives of a 9/11 hijacker.
There you go.
A 9/11 hijacker who we find out from the black box, which was found because the plane did not disappear, which was played, and the transcripts are up online for the Moussaoui trial, the 20th hijacker, showing that he was not flying the plane. And in fact, his voice isn't on the transcript. He wasn't there. And that's also corroborated by the airphone calls mentioning 3 hijackers instead of 4. That's why they were unsuccessful. They only had 3 guys on the plane. Fifth guy couldn't make it. The fourth guy was an Israeli mole. The passengers overwhelmed them. There was a judoka on that plane, Jeremy Glick, who was he was going to a judo tournament, I believe. So, that's a nice one to have in a corridor on a plane. It's a nice martial art to have. Mm-hmm. Whether you have a knife or a box cutter is not going to matter. Those passengers had heard what had happened already in New York. And this whole let's roll thing that they deny, they just shit on their heroism and act like, oh, that's just bull. It was kind of lame for car companies to use that tag in commercials later. Let's roll and stuff. It's like, dude, don't benefit from a tragedy. But the people on that plane, the men on that plane decided, look, we're going to die. We're going to charge them and at least not take other people with us. We're not going to let them hit a target. And they deserve credit for that. And they're like, nah. The U.S. shot it down with a jet or something. Okay, if the U.S. had shot that plane in the air, they would just say so. Nobody would be mad. Like, yeah, look, we can't allow it to hit a target. We had to blow it up. It would actually make us look better. Like, at least we got one of them. But instead, it's no, the U.S. didn't intercept anything. The passengers had to do it.
Wow.
And there's witnesses too. They saw the plane flying upside down, and there's up, down, the shaking the passenger. They didn't land this at an angle with the landing gear down. They spiked it nose first, full speed into the ground on purpose.
So let me get this straight then. So the plane that crashed in Shanksville only had 3 hijackers on it. One of the hijackers was an Israeli intelligence mole that had infiltrated this hijacking crew. And the reason why they were able to take it down is because they only had 3 hijackers, and one of the guys was a martial artist. So they take it down, and there and then the other plane that hit the Pentagon.
That's my speculation. They would say there's 4 guys on the plane, and the passengers took it down. But come on, this guy, he's not in the transcripts, and he's definitely not the pilot. They got that part wrong because another person's name is said who's there telling him instructions on pull up, pull down. And so he's not flying the plane. And then the fact that we find out that he has relatives this is Israeli intelligence leads me to believe so was he.
Shanksville, right? This is Shanksville you're talking
about? Yep.
Yeah. And then the Pentagon plane, that one was the Saudis. And we got the black box from that one. And just so the people are wondering, because they probably don't know who the Moussaoui is. Guys, who he's referring to is a guy named Zacharias Moussaoui, French national, who was arrested by the FBI. And I think the FBI Minneapolis office caught him. And he was the only person, actually, that was actually tried and convicted related to the 9/11 hijackings. The only person, Zachariah Moussaoui. And I think he's over at ADX Florence, if I'm not mistaken, out there in Colorado. But during the trial, because he went to trial, obviously he was looking at very serious charges, guys. They had to play that. Well, the government had to play all the evidence that they had. And part of the evidence was the black box recovered from the Pentagon. And you can hear the screams and everything else like
from
that.
Shanksville, yeah.
So from the one from Shanksville or the one from Pentagon?
The one from the Pentagon they say is too damaged to get data off of. The one from Shanksville
so
they played.
The one from Shanksville.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right then. So that's what it was. And the one on Shanksville had the Israeli mole in it, correct?
That's right.
There you go.
Yo,
I think they all had Israeli moles.
I think so too.
Can we just?
That's just the one whose cousins got caught spying. I mean, that's serendipitous.
Yeah.
I just want to bring this up real quick. Imagine you are not playing, fighting for your life, and you took the chance to, you know what? I think kill the people. I'm going to save lives and just crash it.
Yeah.
That is a badge of honor, bro. Like, you should be a hero.
Yeah.
Honestly.
But obviously the kooks are trying to say that never happened.
That's wild, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what they're trying to say.
They think there's just not enough debris, so it had to blow up in the air because somebody in the news said we found pieces 8 miles away or whatever. Dude, wind carries little pieces, and when something hits like that and explodes with jet fuel in the wings, it's gonna, blow up, and wind will carry stuff around. But the majority of the plane is in that crease.
Pull up.
If you see other planes that didn't land, that just hit the side of a mountain or something, they didn't see it coming and they just crash right into something. It looks identical. It just looks like a crack and it's all pushed in. The plane is mostly a hollow tube. And then it's full of fuel. So that other metal is going to get shredded and blown up. The ground is pretty unforgiving. It's not like the Pentagon where it just busts through a brick wall. This is hitting the earth. The earth is the winner, no matter what you crash into it. There's no air on the other side. It's just more earth. So it just goes and gets smushed and blown up. It's going to be very small, but it was still there, and the black box was still there.
Wow.
All right.
Rest in peace.
So I think we got well, real quick, we'll pull up Zachariah Massawi just so that people know, because so just to put a face to the name. Chris, you got it?
Wait, hold on, let's see.
Oh, God,
Man, this is sad, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
crazy shit.
And then
there he is right there. Yep, that's it, Chris.
Yeah.
This is him right here, guys. This is Zachariah Massawi. This is the guy that was the only person to actually be successfully prosecuted for 9/11. But they did play. The reason why this is important is because you got all the court transcripts and they went over all the evidence, which is where you get the pictures of the planes, you get the pictures of the dead bodies, etc. All of that came into trial when he went to
and the black box is in the hole created by the plane that crashed into the ground.
Yeah,
it's not blown up in the air.
Yeah.
He should have got a death penalty, man. At least.
Did he get
life.
sentenced to death?
He got life, but that's death penalty, bro.
Yeah. The thing with him is they basically, well, he I think the thing with him is that six consecutive life sentences. These are one of the worst prisons ever. I think they've linked him through money, if I'm not mistaken. He was a material support. He sent money to one of the hijackers
right.
or
He's
something.
in ADX Florence, Colorado.
Yeah.
You want to know what's fucked?
What?
He has less time than James Fields, who's the guy in Charlottesville that ran into a car that ran into another car that hit Heather Heyer, who was with a bunch of other communists blocking the road. Because that guy's a racist and he killed an Antifa protester. He's in jail for 400 and something years. So you have a penalty equivalent of what Zachariah Massawi had for 9/11 to a guy that got in a traffic accident because other people were beating his cars with road signs and pulled a gun on him and stuff. So he guns it and hits the car in front of him, which hit another car, which hit a woman that was blocking the road. All right,
Ryan, we got the Norman Mineta stuff right here. So,
you found that? Nice.
Found it. So let's go ahead and play it real quick.
Because for people who think I'm making this up, like here it is. Here's a video of it.
Add it to stream, Chris.
Yep.
I wanted to focus just a moment on the.
Chris, it's not on.
Hold on.
All right, so here it is. This is the testimony that he gave after 9/11 for, obviously they did their investigation. And this is the Secretary of Transportation that was there in the bunker with Dick Cheney and everybody else. Because at that point, since Bush was up in Air Force One, Dick Cheney pretty much was kind of the de facto president of the United States at the time making the decisions. So.
I wanted to focus just a moment on the Presidential Emergency Operating Center. You were there for a good part of the day. I think you were there with the Vice President. And we had that order given, I think it was by the President, that authorized the shooting down of commercial aircraft that were suspected to be controlled by terrorists. Were you there when that order was given?
No, I was not. I was made aware of it during the time that the airplane coming in to the Pentagon. There was a young man who would come in and say to the Vice President, the plane is 50 miles out. The plane is 30 miles out. And when it got down to the plane is 10 miles out, the young man also said to the Vice President, do the orders still stand? And the Vice President turned and whipped his neck around and said, of course the orders still stand. Have you heard anything to the contrary? Well, at the time, I didn't know what all that meant. And
the flight you're referring to is the
flight that came into the Pentagon.
Yeah.
And so I was not aware that discussion had already taken place. And but in listening to the conversation between the young man and the Vice President, then at the time I didn't really recognize the significance of that. And then later I heard of the fact that the airplanes had been scrambled from Langley to come up to DC, but those planes were still about 10 minutes away. And so then at the time we heard about the airplane that went into Pennsylvania, then I thought, oh my God, did we shoot it down? And then we had to, with the vice president, go through the Pentagon to check that out.
Let me see if I understand. The plane that was headed toward the Pentagon and was some miles away, there was an order to shoot that plane down.
Well, I don't know that specifically, but I do know that the airplanes were scrambled from Langley or from Norfolk, the Norfolk area, and but I did not know about the order specifically, other than listening to that other conversation.
But there very clearly was an order to shoot commercial aircraft
Subsequently,
down.
I found that out.
Can you pause?
Yeah.
So that's Lee Hamilton. We went over him already. He was on the Tower Commission to investigate Iran-Contra with Dick Cheney as the other co-chair. And now they're investigating Dick Cheney. So fuck this guy.
It's conflict of interest.
The orders he's talking about. Let me explain how the orders work.
Yeah, that's good enough right there. I think we don't need any.
It's probably, and he clearly said we're talking about the Pentagon. We're not talking about Flight 93. We're talking about the Pentagon.
Yeah,
so that excuse with about 30 miles out, like, no, you're talking about Flight 77. You didn't shoot it down.
Yeah.
The order is you don't shoot down a plane unless you get an order to do so. You cannot shoot down a commercial plane unless the president or the Army Chief of Staff or somebody gives you the order. Then you can do it. So he's like, "Is the order still stands?" Means, can I just give me the green light? And Cheney's like, "Nah, you haven't heard anything to the contrary. Why? Why won't you shoot the plane down? Why else was he frantically coming back saying it's 50 miles out, it's 30 miles out? Like, can we do something?" And of course, he doesn't want to do anything. And you let him off the hook. And it also shows U.S. government complicity to 9/11 right there. That's only one piece of evidence, but that's a big one. That disappears when you deny airplanes hitting going to the Pentagon or hitting the Pentagon.
For it to make sense, guys, planes were involved. You want to talk about them boys. You want to talk about Saudi Arabia. You want to talk about deep state, etc. If you guys want to be conspiracy theorists about the right stuff. If there's no planes, the story doesn't make sense.
You can't really segregate Saudi Arabia, Israel, and the U.S. either. If you know about the Safari Club created in the 1970s, after 76, right? They create this group in response to the OPEC weapon of oil from Saudi being pissed off about Yom Kippur and the Israelis starting that war and attacking all their neighbors. They decided to use the OPEC weapon. Well, they busted up that cartel by bringing the Saudis into the fray and under the U.S. wing to join the pre-existing Israeli-U.S. nexus. All that is in my film, and I went over the bank transactions and all this really freaking high-level Asperger stuff to prove this case. That's what I'm trying to finance on Give, Send, Go. But, you know, it's available now on my website, Empire Unmasked. But, like, we have been over this. And the U.S. highly relies on the Saudis and the Israelis for translators. And they use that and abuse that to their advantage. They don't have enough linguists in any of these FBI field offices, especially, to deal with it.
Yeah.
The DEA does, but the FBI doesn't. And they were forewarned. We went over that last show too. I mean, Mike Figaley and the Dickerson and stuff refused to act on the information from an Iranian informant that told them Al Qaeda's in the United States, bin Laden's going to attack us with airplanes. Yep. They sat on that information. CIA knew too. They had different information. They didn't share that with the FBI, but the FBI got direct information and still didn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
So they're not off the hook either.
Yeah, no, they definitely knew, and they had warned the president off. The CIA actually warned the president on several occasions, but they didn't do anything. I mean, Clinton even knew about fucking bin Laden.
The CIA warned them in very general, abstract information in like August, like right before it was about when they're already in place.
August and July,
July 30th.
So let's get into the next one. So I think we pretty much debunked that one, guys. Planes hit the Pentagon. I mean, I think at this point, you guys.
It's the importance too. It's not just that a plane hit the Pentagon. It's like, why does it matter? Because what people do is go, well, let's just be agnostic on that and focus on Building 7. It's like, no, bitch. you need to talk about the Pentagon and you need to admit there was a plane, because it implicates the vice president as well as these Saudi nationals that were financing the hijackers that were on that plane. You cannot just ignore the Pentagon and act like it doesn't matter because Building 7 fell in 6 seconds in its own footprint. And Jane Stanley's on the BBC saying it fell when it's still behind her.
Yeah.
Like, we've heard that to death. It doesn't move the needle because it doesn't tell you who did it.
Yeah. It's amazing to me how many people, bro, to this day, Ryan, like talk about Building 7, WT7. And in my head, I'm like, oh my God, like you guys are so focused on this building randomly going down and you guys don't give a fuck about who did this. Like,
you want to give my analogy about the house fire?
Go ahead, you give it, my friend.
I'll do it. If someone sets your house on fire and you see a pickup truck squealing out of the yard, right, leaving tire tracks and stuff, are you going to sit there and play with your nuts saying, I wonder if they use kerosene or gasoline? Or are you going to go, who the fuck burned my house down?
Yeah.
Oh, here's a truck, or let's say not a truck, a van. Let's say a van full of people squeal away and you find out there's some other people filming it and laughing. Well, let's ignore that. They didn't know anything about it. Let's ignore the people that ran out of the yard, in a van that also still had traces of explosive in it. We're going to ignore that. We're going to pick through the debris and try and figure out which kind of accelerant they used to burn it down with.
Yo, it's crazy to me how like people will go ahead and sit there and say, oh, Building 7, oh, thermite, oh, controlled demolition. But then I say, oh, did you know that some Israelis were caught with fucking dynamite in vans right after 9/11 on the same day on the George Washington Bridge? Did you know that some Israelis were caught dancing and celebrating with fucking planes booked to leave the next day or so, right around the same time?
All of whom failed their polygraph tests, and all of whom had different timelines in their interrogation and admitted that they were sent there by the Jewish agency, whose board of governors is Ertime Wertheimer, the richest man in Israel, who had the police commissioner of New York there in August, where he gave him a $500,000 loan, and also used the intermediary there, the marble dealer, who's tied to the Gambino family. Like, they don't want to hear any of that.
Dude, it's crazy to me how people will focus on Building fucking 7 and not the guys that were caught on the George Washington Bridge with fucking explosives. Like, are you fucking...
Well, they exaggerate Building 7, too. They say there's only pockets of fire, and they show the north side of the building in the morning. They don't show the south side of the building in the afternoon, when every fucking floor of that building was on fire, and it was missing the southwest corner. Not one single fireman was surprised that it went kaboom.
It's just wild to me, dude. Like how people prioritize that, right? They're talking about NIST and Building 7 going down awkwardly, but they're not going to talk about
the Alaska study that had beams passing right through other beams, like they're made of ghost particles.
It's like, dude, did you guys not?
The Alaska study was some chump and 2 Chinese grad students, one of whom quit the study midway. They came up with this computer model that has metal beams passing right through other beams to try and get the collapse the way they think it was. So dumb. And they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on that. I don't think it went to the people doing the study, or that guy wouldn't have quit. I think it got pocketed by 9/11 charlatans.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing too, man, is just like, it amazes me how people are not focused on the things that actually matter. Like, cool, I'm not saying WT7 isn't important, but it's probably more important that firefighters and all the victims at the scene said that they heard explosions from the fucking basement. And then not only that, you know that in 1993, this same building got attacked the same way. They put explosives in the fucking basement. They're talking about, oh, thermite, controlled demolition. A bunch of Jewish students showed up and put dynamite on all the floors. No, they had
an active building with people working in it every day, and you're just going to go around planting C4 everywhere. Listen, the most vulnerable part of the World Trade Centers is the parking garage, because you can put bombs in a truck and then drive it into the parking garage and leave it there. No one knows, no one's seen inside your car. They don't stop and check every car that goes in there. So if you wanted to blow up the World Trade Center, you don't have to blow up every floor.
Yeah.
What you do is what I already spelled out in my 9/11 documentary. They did have truck bombs, which were discovered, and they had a team go in and sabotage the fire prevention systems, which maximize the damage from fire. And the way to do that, you don't have to go floor by floor and break all the sprinklers. All you have to do is go sabotage one of the 3 relay pumps, and then the water won't get up to the top floor. That's all you have to do.
Are we surprised, though? Americans are watching TikTok, Kim Kardashian, focus on the wrong things.
But here's the thing: even the conspiracy theorists don't talk about any of this. Like they talk about building 7, building 7, building 7. I see it even in the chat when we're talking. Oh, gonna have Ryan Dawson. We're going to talk about 9/11, building 7, beams, holograms. And I'm like, what the fuck? Are you guys fucking retarded?
They probably did have a truck bomb under Building 7 too. If they had one under the other two, there's no evidence, but it's reasonable speculation. If they did it on the other World Trade Centers,
here's the thing that people don't know: when Ramzi Youssef did the World Trade Center bombing in 1993, he was almost successful, but he didn't put enough explosives. So
they parked in the wrong place.
And he parked in the wrong place. So when they did it in 2001, they're like, we're going to get this right this time. They put more explosives in. They had moving vans. There was an entire Israeli front company called, Transport Inc., right? If I'm not mistaken. Or
Urban Moving Systems, International, Classic International Movers, Moshe Movers, and White Glove Movers. You had several different moving companies that were spying on these Arab terror cells and had access in and out of the towers through Zim shipping and other tenants in the building that were hiring them. They were going in and out of there. They were also at Doric Towers. I mean, I have explained this ad nauseum, but it's like I can't get people to listen to the grown-up part of this story because of all these kook-tards that are talking about missiles. And then it gets worse. Even as like Corey, what's his face said, it got worse. Dylan Avery is what it was. They started denying planes in New York.
Yeah.
They started saying, look at this video someone made. It looks like a hologram.
Like, here's the thing. I know some of you guys are probably like, yo, like, Dawson's hating on Alex Jones, blah, blah. You guys got to understand that when you put as much work as Ryan has to discovering the truth, and you have legitimate information, you have legitimate proof that explains everything. Why did the towers fall down the way that they did? Why did Building 7 go down? Where did these explosions come from? How were these terrorists able to navigate through the United States without being caught? Well, we had Israeli intelligence literally moving them from Florida to New York. We had them housing them. Some of the terrorists actually rented.
Our own FBI nailed them on that. The Miami field office complained to Newark saying, one of these hijackers gave logistical support, got logistical support from this moving company. Classic International was moving Alamari around. And that's just the one they knew about. And I bet they found more of that, but it's all whited out. That's the problem. Forget about me and Alex Jones. Just compare my information to his. This is a guy saying to microwave your $20 bills to get rid of the RFID chips and your FEMA camps and your gay frogs and your earthquake machines and your fucking... The guy has no filter. And what he did with 9/11 was there was clear evidence going down the Saudi-Israeli road, and he said it's the NWO, Illuminati, Luciferian, globalist, deep state, just any word that just means they. There's no details, no names, no nothing. Did not explain to you how 9/11 was erroneously attached to Iraq through anthrax. Never touched it. Didn't explain how anthrax or how the war in Afghanistan was tied to it. He's just Building 7 fell too fast based on eyeballing it, and Jane Stanley reported it fell before it fell. That's the crux of 9/11. He just says they did it. He's like, Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing. I like Alex Jones, but with 9/11, he's dead wrong, guys. I just got to be honest with y'all. Like, he's right about some things, but when it comes to 9/11, he's dead wrong. And the problem is
dead wrong on 9/11. He's dead wrong on JFK. He's the asshole that went around telling everybody JFK was assassinated because of Executive Order 1110, which he thinks was anti-Fed. Go look up the executive order. All it does is limit who can issue silver certificates. It's all it does. And LBJ didn't overturn it. Nobody, it stayed on the books till the 80s when it was made obsolete. So if that was a motive for killing Kennedy, and that he was like about to pass this order, guess what? That order went through. It's not like he was going to sign it and then they killed him. He signed it. It passed. He died after that. It had nothing to do with why he was killed. But now I have another headache, another conspiracy on Kennedy because of Alex Jones. He's wrong on the school shootings. He's wrong on the wars. He's wrong on fucking everything. The only shit he gets basically right is like, MIC profiteers and the government lies to you. Like, he's right about the government lying to you, but so is he.
I would say Alex Jones did discover as well the Bohemian Grove.
Yeah, the Bohemian Grove.
That's what he does too. So he'll take something like the Bohemian Grove or Bilderberg or some low-rung fucking nothing tier organization and then not talk about AIPAC. It's like, dude, who has more influence? The little charlatans in CFR and Bilderberg or AIPAC?
But Ryan, can you admit
he didn't touch the Epstein ring the whole time?
But Ryan,
the whole time he didn't say anything about Jeffrey Epstein raping girls for decades.
Ryan, can you admit on some level that he may have some Jewish influence? Maybe, maybe not.
he married a Jew and divorced her and then married another Jew.
So now we know kind of why.
I mean, they may have him compromised. When you marry your masseuse, your little happy ending wife, that might have something to do with it. Because what's funny is right after 9/11, like that, I think it was September 12th, Alex did go on TV and say, these are Zionists. This is what happened. And then they fucking reeled him in. And he never said it again.
Yeah. That's
so and the other thing, Trump was on his show and they were talking about the dancing Middle Easterners, which Trump thought was Arabs. And Alex never corrects him. And you fucking know that he knows it was Israelis. And he didn't say any, like, you have Trump on. You could fix everything right now. You have the opportunity to tell him, do you know the guys celebrating the attack were from Israel? And then start explaining the story. Did Alex do that? No. And in his movie Terror Enigma, whatever, that he spread everywhere, when he showed the anthrax notes, said death to America, death to Israel, he blurs out Israel.
Oh,
Go look it up. Go look up Terror Enigma. All mentions Israel. He blurted out.
Yeah. I hate.
Yes, Alex Jones is compromised. Who knows what they have him over a barrel sticking his wee-wee in. That dude is unable to tell you the truth because them boys got him by the shorties.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's I will say this. That's the one thing is that he will not say Israel. He will not say anything about Zionists. He will not. He'll refer to them as the elites. That's what he'll say. He'll call them the elites, but he will not name them.
He calls them the elites, but he just, if you watch them through the years, it starts with the New World Order, and then the globalists, and then the Bavarian or Luciferian death cult, Luciferians, and then he got into the elites, and then he calls them the deep state. And he has all these little acronyms for avoiding saying who it is, and who it actually is, and definitely not going to give you names.
Yeah, and the thing is,
he never explained the OSP or any of that stuff. I mean, he was good against COVID. He's good against China a little bit too much. The Chi-Coms. He said the Arabs run Hollywood. If that isn't a cry for help, right? That's just like the people in World War II saying they gas people with a submarine engine. Like, just make your lie so ridiculous that it's obvious to everybody. It's like, I'm being held hostage, you know?
Yeah.
He said the Arabs run Hollywood.
Yeah.
And he doubled down on it. He's like, the Saudis. Oh, my God.
Like I said, I like Alex Jones, but when it comes to anything to do with Israel or Zionists, he will not admit it, bro. That's my one critique. But anyway,
he could have someone else say it, but he doesn't cover that either. And he brings on every charlatan. I'm telling you, that guy took over Bill Cooper's role as the fake patriot, the guy that's supposed to, he tells like something like he's pro-gun, all we can agree on that. But he attaches that to asinine. Like, I don't want Alex Jones arguing on behalf of guns, but he went on Piers Morgan as a complete ass clown talking about monkeys jumping on the head of a pen or something. And he thought that was a W. I was like, Piers Morgan made you look like an absolute lunatic when he asked you about guns, and then he asked you about 9/11, and you're like, well, no, we know who did it. Building 7. He just starts sloganeering and getting all hyperventilating on air. It's like, who? He asked him like 15 times. Who, Alex? Who? He doesn't give you a name. He doesn't say anything. He just says, hey, we know. He had a chance and he wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And you're pretty fucking low when Piers Morgan is above you.
Well, all right. So I think we beat it to death here. When
you're not going to get me to say anything good about Alex Jones. He is the reason people don't understand 9/11.
Understood.
And people are, well, he's the first guy that woke me up. I'm like, he didn't wake you up. He put you into a different dream. You got on and just started listening to all this horse shit about 9/11, and then you went and repeated it, which made the rest of us look retarded.
Yeah.
So I think we covered the planes pretty well, guys. We got attacked by planes.
Let's get into the World Trade Center itself.
All right. So the next one is thermite and melting beams, right? So
well, let me do a quick one real fast. We'll tackle Rebecca Roth real fast.
Okay,
she's the one that did this thing, the Gelatin B team or whatever, which was Austrian art students who were actually art students. Okay. And there's film of them in the tower. It's not even remotely close to when 9/11 happens. They just put this up there for years or something. But they show, I swear to God, this is what they say. They put boxes, like cardboard boxes, have numbers on them because that's locations they come from. They correspond to these. So, this has B88 something. That's this military weapon too, because lots of weapons have letters and numbers. All it is boxes from the mail. I could pull out any box in my room that's going to have letters and numbers on it from where it was sent from, you know? But what happened was She put out a film about art students supposedly being in the towers. So that's who put the bombs there or something. She named it Decade of Deception. I have a film called Decades of Deception. She changed it by one letter. I talk about the actual Israeli art students and what they're doing in Florida, spying on the DEA and da. She just fucking shit in the punch bowl there. Changed one letter, talked about actual art students from Austria that had nothing to do with it. Says they're Israelis and has all this spookadoo kook stuff. What happens because of her film is anybody Googling Israeli art students, it goes to Rebecca Roth's retarded shit piece, A Decade of Deception. And so it acted as anyone trying to get at the meat when they heard about Israeli art students. You will not find my work anymore. You're going to find hers. She became a gatekeeper. As identical a title as you could possibly do. And then talking about art students from Israel, even though the art students she's talking about were not from Israel and did not have bombs and did nothing. They're the guys that did Il America, Wolfgang stuff. They had nothing to do with September 11th. But that is now one of the 9/11 camps.
Bam.
And that was on purpose. She did not accidentally name it the one letter off from mine about 9/11 and art students and then get everybody barking up the wrong tree. So that's that. Now we can go to the World Trade Center itself. One of the big claims is fire can't melt steel beams. Jet fuel doesn't burn hot enough, which is just a dumb argument in and of itself because of three reasons. One, it's not like they just took a steel beam and poured jet fuel on it and lit it with a match. There's a building on fire. Jet fuel is only one of the things in the building. And this is a simple analogy for the double-digit IQ crowd. If you just take a log of wood and take a match, it will not light the log. But if you take some paper and other stuff and light that on fire and then put the log on that, the log will also catch on fire. Then you can put an aluminum can or something on that and it'll melt that too. It works its way up. It's called specific heat. It's not just jet fuel in a beam. That's already a faulty argument. There's a building fire. Indoor fires well exceed temperatures to melt aluminum. They also well exceed temperatures to cause steel to lose more than 80% of its tensile strength. If you go back to the page, I have some videos on this. Oh, one I forgot. They also say, oh, well, a plane couldn't have hit the World Trade Center because the plane's made of aluminum and aluminum can't break steel because steel is denser than aluminum. This is what I'm not kidding. This is what they say.
Wow.
Scroll down to the video of a white van. It's not an urban moving system van, although that would have been hilarious.
Incredible.
Right there. All right. Let's play this. This is fruit going through steel.
Burn the hole. 5, 4, 3.
Goddamn.
And that's fruit.
Yeah, all the women have left the room. All the guys are calling their friends. Come look at this. That is compressed air and a pumpkin.
Someone said pumpkin said 9/11.
Well, I mean, this should not have to be. I shouldn't have to show this. If anybody had passed science in, third grade, you can break a pumpkin with your fist. But listen, if a pumpkin is going quick enough, it will go through a van. An aluminum plane, especially full of fuel, which fuel matters. Like, think of it like this. If you have an empty Coke can, you can just crush that with your foot real easy. Now take a full Coke can, and Coke is not hard. It's soft, but it doesn't matter. If you have a liquid in there, stomp on that can, see if you can crush it all the way to the ground. Unless you're Mike Mincer or something, I don't think that's going to work. You're just going to hurt your foot. And a Coke can is just millimeter thick aluminum. People think about how flimsy aluminum is because they're used to aluminum cans. Okay, go take an aluminum baseball bat, which is also hollow, by the way, and see if you can break it. Because it's just a little bit thicker. Now, scale that up to the size of a fucking airplane and have it going 500 miles an hour. It absolutely will shred through whatever any kind of wall you put in front of it.
Okay.
But they did. There's an airplane size hole, and it's also on film. It's the second plane is on film from so many angles crashing into the building, but they would act like it's not a plane, and there's no way a plane could go through a building because steel is harder than aluminum. Holy shit, dude. It's mass times velocity. The force is from the speed and the weight of the plane. The plane also breaks, but so does the wall, including steel. That's why a vegetable can go through a car. That's why you'll see car accidents sometime of a car wrapped around a wooden tree. If that tree is rooted in and heavy and thick enough, and the steel is thinner, sometimes the tree is the winner, even though it's made of wood. I mean, this is not this is I hate having to explain this, but I mean, damn, but you have people who actually make that argument, and then they'll say, well, the temperature doesn't get hot enough to melt steel, so it should have just, I don't know, sat there and burned indefinitely without falling down. Please go back to the page. Let's learn about steel temperatures. Okay, you can see there. 1 is 100%. 0 is none. 0.6 is 60. At less than 600 degrees Celsius, and let me explain something. Just the gas from a fire reaches 600 degrees, not even the flames. In an indoor fire, just the smoke is hot enough to reach 600 degrees. Steel is down to 60%. 40% of its strength is gone at 550. By 600, 600% of its strength, or 60% of its strength is down. You're down to 40%. At 800, you're down to less than 20%. And by 1,000, you're close to 0. All right, now let's look at flame temperatures for room fires. I didn't highlight it, but you can see there, gas temperatures in the room exceed about 600 degrees Celsius, so already down 40%. And then you can see the highlighted post. The value turns out to be 1,200 Celsius, which is almost like 1% strength. Although the typical post-flame over room fire are more between 900 and 1,000 degrees. Scroll up again and look at the chart. Let's see what 900 and 1,000 degrees Celsius is. Damn, you're looking at about 4% strength. So 96% of the steel's ability to hold weight-bearing capacity has evaporated without melting. All you have to do is get it hot, and it's going to drop its payload way, way before its melting point.
Wow.
And to hit it home, we have a video of a steel worker. To further this on these retards, let's play this video.
How to escape the heat if you don't have an air conditioner.
Yo, this is
this only takes 5 minutes.
Systematic debunking for y'all.
So I am taking time out of my busy day to try to put to rest one of the more moronic things I have seen on the internet lately, and that's saying something. Through my Facebook feed, I saw yet again that old tired argument, that question. Jet fuel only burns at 1,500 degrees, and since steel melts at 2,700 degrees, 9/11 was a conspiracy. I am so sick and tired of this argument. Now, I am not going to make any claims to what did or did not happen. If it was conspiracy, I do not care. What I am upset about is the retarded metallurgical things that you guys are saying. I'm not arguing the facts. Jet fuel does in fact burn at 1,500 degrees. Steel will start melting, some carbon steels, at 2,300 degrees. But if you hold this up as a reason for conspiracy, you are an idiot. This is a piece of half-inch thick steel, A36 structural steel designed for structures. This is a 250-pound anvil. I'm going to put this steel in the back of this anvil, and I'm going to lift this 250-pound anvil with this bar of steel. Do you see how the structural steel is supporting this anvil? Okay. There. Now, in my furnace, I have an identical piece of half-inch bar of steel, just like this. And it's going to be around 1,800 degrees, just 300 more than jet fuel, when it comes out. And I want you to see something very interesting. Go into the forge. It's very hot, but not melted. Obviously, it is not melted. I put this in the oven. Now watch this. I'm going to take my pinky finger.
Oh, shit.
Half-inch solid steel. Check it out. It's a freaking noodle. Your argument is invalid. Get over it. Find a job.
Don DeMarco. Man, right there in plain sight. You got it.
I mean, we're putting on a clinic right now for all the crazy kooks out there, man. Like, yo, debunking.
I love the find a job part.
Series, man. Holy, bro.
Now,
okay.
Can you look on your Telegram, Myron, and just show that, get that picture up? Because this is the counter argument to what he just said, and I'm going to give you the counter argument to that.
Okay, it is
what they'll do.
It's up there, Chris. On the Chris is on it right now. It's on the Telegram.
All right.
It's the picture with the firefighters, right?
It's the one at the very bottom. Yeah, firefighters and the beams.
Okay,
Ryan, you owe him dinner, bro.
The one above it you don't want to show.
All right, Chris, you got it. It's the firefighter picture.
Yeah. What they'll do is they'll like, yeah, but
and Chris, all the way at the bottom.
No, it's not here.
No, he sent it. Okay. God damn it. All right, let me
good.
You just sent it to me on Telegram, you said, right?
Well, I can explain some other stuff anyway.
Explain it real quick.
They'll claim that they found molten metal in the basement days after the event. And so that must have been nanothermite or whatever. First of all, we don't use thermites to demolish buildings that we blow up on purpose, because you can't time that to the second to pop out every floor the way they describe it with the squibs and da-da-da-da. Use shape charges to blow up buildings. There you go. So molten metal doesn't mean molten steel. It just means metal. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff, tin, copper, aluminum, and so on in the building that you can pull up. There's a 45-degree cut, and this is what all the kooks do. They'll zoom in on this picture, and it's almost always this picture. There's a couple others, and say, look at that 45-degree slice. That had to be thermite. Look at the melted metal on the edge there. That looks like it was cut through on purpose. Yeah, it was by the fire department. The fire department cut up the beams that were still standing because they did not dustify and loaded them to a scrapyard. And I think I sent a bunch of pictures. It's the other tab you have to a tweet I made, because the other claim is they shipped it all to China and India and there's no debris or it all disappeared or something. And I'm going to show you, okay, look at these. All have 45-degree cuts because the fire department cut these down. And some of these right there, that's if you go to Ground Zero today, there's a museum and they have some of these showcases, pieces of the World Trade Center that remained. You can also see that they're hollow. These aren't like, a foot long or 2 feet wide, pure steel. It's just a few inches on each edge. It's an I-beam. And these were cut so that they could be loaded onto trucks. Most of it went to a scrapyard. This one here in this warehouse with the American flag, I believe, ended up in the Ground Zero Museum, along next to a fire truck with the front end that's been melted. You should really go see it. Here that picture there, you can see real clearly how hollow the beams are. There's no way it could go through all that steel. It's not that much, actually. The one in the foreground, that was ripped from the fall. The ones that are cut all nicely like that are the ones the fire department did. And they don't use thermite to do it.
It was a fire department that cut it. Click that one, Chris.
Fire department cut it. And here you can see a fireman when they're like, where's the debris? It It's at ground zero. They act like that. This is Judy Wood. She's the direct energy weapon, which acts like it got dustified and steel beams just went poof. No, they didn't. They're right fucking there.
And then, yeah, damn. Okay.
Those are the ones that were near the bottom, the triples for the, what's it called? The trident shaped ones. And they were neatly cut into sections. They're connected by joints anyway. And that's what gave way when the building collapsed. Not the steel wasn't breaking in half, except up where the impact was.
Shit. That's crazy, bro. I mean,
there's no disappeared steel. And the other picture they'll point to, I didn't have offhand, but they'll show a line of cars that are all charred up and side by side. That is a picture after the tow trucks dragged those out and put them all on an adjacent street. So it wasn't as if the heat from the building burned all these cars blocks away. It burned the cars that were right next to it and some under it. They towed those cars over to get them out of the way for the cleanup. They just lie to you. And that's in Judy's books and stuff. I mean, she's a nut. Like, how come a microwave doesn't set your napkin on fire? It only heats your food and not paper. Isn't that magical? Like, no, it's the resonant frequency of water that microwaves use. Microwaves generally are harmless, but in a microwave oven where they're bouncing off walls over and over again and concentrate, that's when they heat things up. I mean, it's like usually visible light doesn't harm you, but if you put a magnifying glass in front of it, it will, because then you've now taken the light and concentrated it, and then you can burn stuff with it out of light. You can totally do that. And this is the same thing, the arguments about 5G and all this other crap. But like, you don't even science. Please shut your mouth.
All right. What's the next one? I mean, holograms, I think we've debunked that already.
Holograms are dumber than hell.
Yeah. What other 9/11 conspiracy theories do we need to debunk? We got another 30 minutes or so.
Miniature nukes is another one.
Okay.
Okay. That's a Jim Fetzer thing. He also got sued. He was a Sandy hoaxer. He thought it's a bunch of crisis actors or something. Again, he mouthed this off on Alex Jones.
Oh, shit.
And he's talked about many. Those don't exist. There's not a nuke in the world that's small enough to only take down 2 buildings and make them collapse from the top down.
Yeah.
Like, if there's a nuke on the bottom, it would blow up the bottom first. Duh. Like, you can't have a mini nuke make a building collapse from the top down.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have a mini nuke. There's the smallest nuke we ever made blew up Hiroshima, the whole city.
Yeah.
If there was a nuke, even a little nuke, it would blow up New York. All of it. It wouldn't just be a couple buildings.
Wow.
That's just, I don't know. And there's no radiation. There's no, if a nuke had gone off, you'd be able to detect the radiation.
Yeah.
Which isn't there.
Yeah. People would have had
New Yorkers act kind of weird, but it's not from radiation.
Yeah. Okay. What other I'm trying to think of the other 9/11 conspiracies. Chat, go ahead, throw some. And by the way, real quick, we got 12,000 plus you guys in here. Do me a quick favor. I need you guys to go ahead and follow us on Rumble, right? So we can hit 500 followers, 500K. And then also follow Ryan. The name of his Rumble channel is called Ryan Dawson. Okay, guys? And it's linked below as well. And also support his 9/11 documentary that he's trying to get funding for, because he's going to do a renewed one for 2023, 2024. Hopefully, I'm going to donate to it myself. So guys, go ahead.
We're halfway there on that already. I think that's going to go quickly once we get it.
How much more?
What's that?
How much more do you need? You need 30K to do it, right?
Yeah, I think we're at like 13.6 or 13.8, something like that.
And we can also read
almost over 40%.
Okay, we'll read some of the Rumble rants. But guys, do me a favor, because we're trying to get to 500K on Rumble. So if you guys can go ahead and do us a favor and follow, and also like the video, we'd really support that. And then also follow Ryan on rumble.com as well. Rumble.com/Ryan Dawson. Is that the URL?
It is. I could tell you something else about Judy Wood and Fetzer. These people always blame Israel, and it's weird. Why are the people talking about mini nukes and direct energy weapons also say it's the Israelis? Because they want the narrative about Israeli involvement in 9/11 to be associated with these outlandishly weird conspiracies. So they think, oh, you think Israel did 9/11? You believe in DEW weapons and mini nukes? Okay. You see that? That's on purpose.
To describe. Okay, I see what you're saying. Controlled opposition, man. Controlled opposition.
It is. It's controlled opposition
all the time.
They do this. They always want some they either get someone who's absolutely crazy or has some unforgivable social ill to make the argument.
Yeah.
So they'll have someone that might be opposed to the colonization of the West Bank and Palestine, but they also want to put Jews into the sea. Right?
Yeah.
They want it to come from a racist or Islamophobic or some kind of ism to criticize, because then categorically, even if the rest of their information is correct, nobody's going to listen to it.
Yeah.
If your opening salvo is, you're coming at it, you might say a bunch of correct things about foreign policy, but you also want to have like a white ethno-state Catholic monarchy, you're dead in the water.
Nick,
because that is so fucking dumb and wrong that everything you say after that is irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm nuanced enough to go, you know what? That's wrong. This is right. But most people aren't. They're just going to go racist. You're done. Anti-Semite. You're done. And the other thing is people who are not anti-Semitic and not racist, but are talking about the very factual role and not Islamophobic of Saudi Arabia and Israel in 9/11 can't be heard because everyone thinks they've heard it already. Oh, that's what Fetzer says. Oh, that's what Judy Wood says. That's what so-and-so says. So if it's not the crazy, it's the unforgivable sins. Now you can have a different conversation of why are those unforgivable sins? Because I think that's wrong. I think somebody might be racist when they're younger and then change their mind, but it doesn't matter because once you've said something ever, even your past, you've seen this happen to people where they dug through, well, in 2008 on a tweet, you said this joke or something, your life is over.
Yeah.
They have to stay the course because that's the only group they have. They cannot say, well, I read some Thomas Sowell and I looked at these arguments or I listened to Ryan Dawson. I'm no longer a racist because they'll never forgive you. It's up. So they might as well go ahead and lean into it because they don't have a path of redemption. You should not have unforgivable sins. That's one of the messages of Christ, right? You have to be able to forgive or people will never change.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and I know you and Nick have your own differences and I don't want to have this where you got, you guys go back and forth with each other. But what I will say is that I agree with a lot of Nick's points, but yes, what they'll do is they'll say he's a white supremacist, he's a Nazi, just to discredit what he's saying, even though he says a lot of things correctly about U.S. Foreign policy when it comes to Israel. I think you and him do a fantastic job of covering how the U.S. does a lot of dumb shit for the benefit of Israel, but they'll go ahead and they'll sit there and say, well, Dawson's a white nationalist, anti-Semite, and which is not true. And then they'll go ahead and say Nick Fuentes is a neo-Nazi, and is a raging racist. They'll forget the fact that he's friends with Kanye West and did a whole campaign with him, but they'll just say he's a racist. It's crazy how even if you say information,
well, you don't help yourself by saying you love Hitler and all this other edgy Zoomer humor crap. Like it doesn't help your case. And the Canary Mission just did a hit piece out, and what they do. They didn't do anything about me until Nick was on your show, and then they associated me to him. I'm the target. But they're like, look, he talked to this guy, and this guy said these outlandish things about wanting to marry a 16-year-old or all the just dumb shit. And I don't think he means any of it. I think he's just an edgelord that like thinks it's funny. That's how that generation is. But the older people don't understand that. When I think he is sincere about Hitler, but whatever. That just doesn't help you. Kanye too, saying that stuff, man, that look what happened to your life. Was it worth it?
Yeah, I agree, Ryan, because at some point the truth is real and should be heard. But if you say these things in conjunction to the truth, nobody wants to hear what you have to say. And you might tell the truth all the way, but that one part of you being racist, or for example, having that, you kill all your credibility. Nobody wants to
torpedo your whole ship when you do that. And look, racist people, like racist whites, can have black friends and stuff. They just think as a category that they're superior. That on average we have higher IQ and race realism, bro, and blah 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 blah. Like you can be, there's degrees of racism. Some people won't even talk to blacks or something like that. But there are people like, yeah, they'll associate with a black billionaire if they have the chance, but they still think he's stupid. Yeah. They still have this belief of superiority and stuff. They still think that naturally you're prone to crime. They have these genetic arguments of behavior and stuff. Like that's all a real thing. That's not a joke. And I don't think that shit's funny. I think it's wrong. I think it's absolutely dead wrong. And this isn't because it's a matter of attack, because I get banned on everything anyway. Right. So it's not like it prevents me from getting banned on stuff. Opposing Zionism will already get you in trouble, but they want you to be anti-Semitic. They want a Richard Spencer or Nick Fuentes or someone like that. That's the gift that keeps on giving, because they'll go and spray a swastika on the wall themselves and then point to it. Oh, hey, look at this. They need someone to fit the stereotype so that they can condemn categorically the entire conservative movement. Look, Trump's with this guy. That's what America First is. It's a bunch of racists. Like, if you would just drop that issue, Nick could have been elected to office.
Yeah.
But that is an anchor, and it is a poison pill. And this is my older man fatherly advice, whatever. Like, cut out this racist bullshit. You're wrong, for one, and it just alienates you. It's self-alienating. The same thing with the Catholic bigotry. Like, the majority of the country is Protestant. You're not going to get anywhere alienating 60% of the country plus all the minorities. Like, that's just fucking dumb.
I'm gonna make you guys friends again.
Telling everybody they're going to hell unless they believe in your specific cult of your religion, of your sect, and your interpretation of it. That's off-putting as hell. That's off-putting. You're telling people, well, you're going to burn forever. I mean, that's like puritanical type of level bigotry.
All right, what other things do we need to debunk? Is there anything else? I think that's
that's the other thing. The other way they kookify conspiracies is by attaching it to all this racist shit. That's what they do. Like, if they can't get you with the crazy, they get you with the condemnable. It's like a lot of revisionists of World War II of a certain topic.
Oh.
They won't look at their art, like David Cole, Jewish historian, revisionist. He's not a racist. He's not anti-Semitic. He's Jewish himself. Well, he's an atheist, but he's of Jewish descent.
Yeah.
Or Germar Rudolph, who they threw in prison for getting the wrong conclusions. They want to paint all these revisionists as if their motive is because they just hate Jews and they're anti-Semitic. You can say that they're wrong, mistaken, whatever, if you want, but they're not motivated by racism. They're motivated by the fact that there actually are a lot of exaggerations about the Holocaust in World War II by the Psych War Department. There were no soap and lampshades. There was electric floors. There's a lot of claims that are incorrect. And so there's bad stuff by the alarmists and there's incorrect stuff by the revisionists. You can't paint them all as racist. But when one comes along that actually fits that's a revisionist and is also racist, all the attention is going to that guy, because that's the enemy they need. They want to make it look like, see, all these people, they're motivated because they hate Jews. That's what you do when you fall into their playbook. They want you to behave that way because you discredit everyone else around you.
Yeah, there's a game being played, and if you're not aware of it, you fall into that trap, and then nobody wants to hear what you got to say. It's sad, but it's reality. Yeah.
Same thing with people fighting, the Islamic factions fighting against Zionism. If one of them really does want to push Jews into the sea or something, some ISIS type, well, that's a bad example because they're paid by them. But, some Wahhabi Salafist or whatever, they're like, see, that's what Muslims think. No, it is not what Muslims think. That's what that guy thought. That guy, and I understand where his racism and prejudice comes from. Look, because racism begets racism. If you have a bunch of Jewish supremacist Zionists colonizing an area, putting Palestinian children in prisons and torturing people, invading Syria, invading Lebanon, people are going to hate you. And they're not going to, after a while, they're not going to go, well, that's these Zionists. That's not all of them. It won't matter. You see enough dead kids, it doesn't matter. They're just like, oh, I hate you. I hate your guts. It's a product of their own behavior. But it's up to us outside to say, you got to cool shit down. Stop collectively condemning people based on biology. This is an ideology. This is not a biological trait. This is a belief of supremacy. It's not an automatic byproduct of your genes.
Yeah.
People behave all different kinds of bad ways. It's not a byproduct of religion either. Like, you can find places where, people who were religious did bad things, like World War II. Look, it's whites fighting other whites. It's Christians fighting other Christians. You have that in Ukraine and Russia right now. They're not fighting because they're white. They're not fighting because they're Eastern Orthodox. There's very specific reasons for the war in Ukraine. It has nothing to do with race and religion.
All right, let's hit some of these Rumble rants real quick, and I think we debunked the 9/11 myths, man. Any chance we see Myron Stein anytime soon? I think he's hiding after this podcast. He might come back out. Basadu goes, please platform Dr. E. Michael Jones, Catholic intellectual. Dawson interviewed him twice and nicknamed him when you asked who else speaks truth to power. This one is a must, gents, culturewars.com. Okay, I don't know.
I second that. E. Michael Jones would be a fun guest.
Cool. What's the beef between Nick and Ryan? Love your work, FNF. There is no beef. I'm going to fix it. Don't worry, guys.
There isn't. I don't have beef with Nick. I have beef with his ideas. I think they're toxic and not the way to go.
All right, fair enough. Appreciate you. Thanks for doing everything you do, turning the tide, W. Ryan. Yeah, and guys, don't worry. Ryan Dawson will be in studio August 4th. We'll probably have him and Scott Ritter, and we'll talk geopolitics. I think you guys will really enjoy that one in person. Ryan, and I know some of you guys are saying like, yo, Ryan, why do you keep interrupting? Whatever. You guys got to understand that there's lag. So we'll start talking and then he might talk. And like, that's why there's a disconnect a bit.
Yeah.
It's not that he's a retard. It's that there's lag because he's in Korea, guys. So that's
I didn't do that before. This one's a little screwy.
Yeah. So it's lagging a bit. That's why you guys have been having issues with the stream as well. Ryan, did you work with Christopher Bolin? He seems like a good source and his speeches are a must watch.
Christopher Bolin used to be on my forum a long time ago.
Okay.
And he does name them boys, but then he went full kook saying a missile hit building 6.
Oh shit. Here we go. Yeah.
Like they got him. He had pretty good work on not just 9/11, but other stuff. He covered the Henry Schein family and Roy Cohen and a lot of historical stuff about them boys. But then they got him to bite a shit sandwich. And unfortunately, because he's saying a missile hit building 6, that undermines all the other stuff that he is correct about is now undermined because he bit into one of these super ridiculous theories.
Oh man.
And I won't tell his story publicly what happened on my forum, but he embarrassed himself pretty bad.
All right. Andrew Graff goes, can you guys do an episode on Clinton's crimes in Haiti and their connection to human trafficking organizations?
Whoa.
Yeah, we can cover the Clintons.
I have a video about that.
We will. What I'm more after this, guys, I'm thinking we're either going to do RFK or Iraq is what we're going to cover next after this. And then I definitely want to do JFK. JFK is the one that I'm really excited about to do with Ryan. Yeah.
Well, that relates to RFK. I think we should do RFK soon because his son is running for president.
Yes.
I think if Ritter comes in August, that'd be a good time to do Iraq because he knows just as much as I do, and he knows things that I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. We could do. We'll cover Iraq with you and Ritter here, and then we'll do JFK. We'll do RFK, and then we'll do JFK. All right, Ryan. Any chance that you could look into American 587 that crashed on 11/12/01 in Queens, killing 260 on board?
Yeah, someone asked that last time, and so I can look at that. I remember. I don't know the number of the flight or whatever, but there was one that crashed into a Bank of America in Florida as well.
Oh,
wow. Also on September 12th.
Damn. Okay. KGB Josh goes, W. Ryan, do you think all the fuckery 9/11 CIA, Ukraine, FTX, Mossad against the US will be exposed with Trump or RFK Jr. in office? Also, fuck Lincoln with a Boeing C-17 Globemaster 3.
Yeah, fuck Lincoln. Look, you have a better chance of any of that being exposed under Trump than you have reelecting Biden. I can guarantee you that.
Do you think RFK Jr. would expose any of that stuff?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing for RFK Jr. is, goddamn well he'll release all the Kennedy files. Oh, that's all we need.
Yeah. Yeah, just off of that alone, he's not going to win.
But that's why he won't win.
I didn't think about that.
I mean, listen, what Trump released was groundbreaking. I mean, they're up there admitting we have new Jewish backers. The Chicago cell is bragging about the new finances they have to kill Kennedy. That's in the documents that Trump released. And I'm like, wow, this is big. And the JFK community is like, look at this. No news. No one knows about it. Like, you don't have to wait for them to get released. Enough has been released to solve that mystery.
Yeah.
And it's just like 9/11. Like, until I got on your platform, no one's ever heard of this stuff. A lot of the stuff they heard in the previous interviews, the first time they ever heard of these names or these companies or what was going on, the first time they saw pictures of debris. And why is that? Because of censorship.
No, I'll tell you this, dude. When you the first time I heard of this stuff is when you went on Sneeko stuff, and then when you started mentioning these names and everything, I started looking into it. I was like, "What the fuck? I need to get this guy on the pod. Like, we need to cover this." because I had been aware of 9/11, but I didn't know about the Israeli angle. I didn't know about the Saudi angle. I had known about all the other inconsistencies with the buildings, etc. And then I was like, nah, man, we need to have it. So make it happen as well. But as far as JFK goes, that one I'm really, me and Ryan have talked offline about JFK's consistently, guys. I'll tell you this, it's going to be really good. Ryan actually knows who shot and killed John F. Kennedy. He actually knows who did it. So
100%.
we're gonna go ahead and cover that for you guys. But for us to cover those those individuals that killed him, we're gonna have to cover who wanted him dead and why. So it all makes sense. But,
RFK too, and it's amazing because this information has been out. Like there are 9/11 victims' families that are suing for information that we already have.
Yeah,
it's sad because the Kennedy has the same problem as 9/11. There's so many kook theories.
Yeah,
so many kook theories that you spend more time chasing dead ends than just debunking the Warren Commission and the official story. That's not hard. Finding out who did it requires you to know, like they blame it on the Cubans and the CIA is mad about the Bay of Pigs, or they killed him because he was about to end the war in Vietnam. You get all these different stories. They're all wrong, but none of them are as ridiculous as the 9/11 stuff, except for the people that blame William Greer and his wife. They act like he slowed down in the kill zone and that Mrs. Kennedy blew his head off.
Question
or she needs to do that. She lives with him. She could poison him. She could off him so many other different ways.
Everybody
she had nothing to do with it. But you know who created that blaming it on Jackie and William? Who? Jim Fetzer. The same guy that said miniature nukes on 9/11 and denied Sandy Hook. He is a professional charlatan. And he's the thermite guy too. Like he switched around. He also originally blamed Sandy Hook on the Mossad. And then they backtracked and said, oh no, it was crisis actors or whatever. It's so stupid.
Let me ask you this. RFK Jr. was recently on Joe Rogan, and they talked about who killed JFK on Rogan. And, he said, Vietnam, military industrial complex. He named some of the things that you just mentioned now. Do you think RFK Jr. knows who killed his uncle?
He's going to, because I'm going to tell him. He knows who killed his father. I think his uncle, the water's a bit murky because MIC, I mean, that's sort of correct because there's some overlap. CIA, yeah. I mean, Angleton had a prominent role. Angleton and Shackley, especially in the cover-up. But as far as organizing Daily Plaza, that's not the right answer.
Who does anyone else know who killed JFK? I mean, me and you talked about it. I'm not going to say shit until we do that show because that's going to be big.
My circle of guys know who it is. Okay. There's one of them named Corey who I said, do you want me to just tell you the answer or do you want to figure it out? Because I want to figure it out, but I want you to give me clues. So I kept giving him hints. And he was like, I'm so glad you didn't. It took him like 6 years. But he was like, this was the greatest puzzle ever. It's so fascinating. It really is. It has so many facets into other things, into the Bay of Pigs, later into Iran-Contra. Like I alluded to it in NUMEC. I kind of went I dipped into the Kennedy assassination in NUMEC a bit, giving the motive and why he had to be killed and how the gun running in Somoza and stuff wasn't what they said.
You gave one of the most important reasons, which I found it very interesting that RFK did not mention that reason in the Rogan interview.
Well, he doesn't want to die.
Well, think about it. He's gonna die if he says that in public. Like, bro, like you can't say that in public. You can't say that.
If you were to say who it was, you would never get elected to be president.
Okay.
Or worse, die.
You can bash the CIA, no one cares. But there's another group that's untouchable. And I should say this: it's still, was it July 15th over there, or 14th?
Yeah, it's the 14th still.
All right. Well, tomorrow it's the 15th here. That is, Nick would like this. That's the day that the Christians took Jerusalem. But tomorrow is Michael Collin Piper's birthday. And Michael Collins Piper wrote Final Judgment, his 6th edition, which is the closest anybody ever got to publishing a book that resolves what happened to JFK. And he's dead now, but I interviewed Piper It's like 3 hours and 48 minutes long about the assassination, and we went over it. That used to be on YouTube. They yanked it, obviously.
Oh, of course.
I have interviewed Bill Still and James Giorgino, who's another good JFK researcher. And be great. Like I could represent Piper, but it'd be great to have a panel of these people one day, because all these different researchers deserve credit on not only who killed Kennedy, but the whole network behind it, the who, why, and how, and the relationship to Nam and Cuba and so on. You have to know a lot about organized crime and a lot about intelligence agencies as preliminary knowledge first, before you're going to be able to understand what was going on and why they absolutely had to kill him.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this, Ryan, give me
all those people deserve credit.
Give me their information. We'll make it happen. We'll have a fucking panel show. And we'll literally
James would come. He's in California. But,
I think that people would like to see that. Give me ones in the chat if y'all would like to see that.
I went to his house and interviewed him.
And we
covered Destiny Betrayed. He's a good one. RFK Jr. is a good one on his father's death.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'll go over that with you anyway, but
yeah,
he'd be a great guy to get on.
Yeah, no, for sure.
He actually was going to the Philippines to meet Thane Eugene Caesar, that's who shot him.
We got they want the JFK Ryan.
He died before he got there.
They want the one. So RFK knows who killed his father. RFK Jr. knows, but he doesn't know who killed JFK.
I don't know if he knows to the extent of all the people around that network around Thane. I don't know how much he knows, how deep it went, and how that back relates with Alessio and those guys. I'd love to talk to him.
Well, I'm gonna try to get him on. I'm working on trying to get RFK Jr. on, but we will definitely, absolutely do an interview with you and tell me who those guys are, and we'll do a JFK panel, because it's probably one of the greatest mysteries in American history. And I'll also say, like, for you to kill a U.S. president, that means the tentacles had to have been deep. There was a big conspiracy. It had to have a bunch of people. And when I talked to you,
imagine.
I was blown away by all the different entities that wanted Kennedy dead. Guys, this is very, from a guy that heard the story from Ryan himself, it is very fucking deep. It's more complex than you think. For you to kill a U.S. president, it's
also in broad daylight.
In broad daylight.
Which is crazy, because you could have did it behind closed doors too.
And they killed him in a violent way.
A Dallas police officer.
Yes, they killed. Yes, people forget that.
Killed Tippett.
Was also killed that day. So, cool, Ryan.
And they shot the governor.
Yeah, they shot the governor of Texas, man. Like, yeah, bro. Like, yeah.
That's why. That's why. Like, for example, censoring things online, you become a target. Wink, wink.
Hey, man. I mean, at this point, what this is? It happened in '63, so 80 years ago. No. 70 years, 60. My math sucks. All right. Can you guys do an episode on the Clintons in Haiti? No, read that one, Chris. What else here? Ryan, any chance that you could look into? No. L, Chris.
That one already too.
Chris, you are L, man.
110. Let's do it again.
What real number on the Holocaust, bro? No ambiguous and source, please. Oh shit. Ryan.
The what?
About the event. He wants to know how many really perished.
Well, we have the Kirscher report from Himmler's orders to liquidate 2.4 million Jews. So, but as far as how many people, including all the non-Jews that were also killed or died in labor camps, you have to say, are you including murdered or died as a result of where they were? I would say, well, that's all murder, because they wouldn't have died if they weren't there. They wouldn't have starved. They wouldn't have died of disease.
Regardless, yeah.
Yeah. It's about 3 million.
3 million total?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you would say of the 3 million that passed, it was 2.4?
Majority of them are Jews or POW, Soviet communist.
Okay. Fair enough. Ryan, they call you a racist too. They will always label people anti-Semitic or racist. I agree with you and hope to see you and Nick be on the same side again. How does it help to call others racist?
Because one is true and one isn't.
All right. Anything else?
No, we're good.
You can call someone whatever, and they're going to do that. But the only thing you can do that is say that's false. But man, you're doing them a favor if it's not false.
Yeah, if you say it yourself, online, then it just makes it concrete, and then you're not taking it serious.
Like if he wasn't, I'd be like, that's not true. I would defend anybody who's falsely being called a racist because I know how that is. But dude is. So I mean, that's like, okay, own it then.
I'll make you guys friends again. Don't worry. But other than that, man, guys, Ryan's links are all below, man. Go support the 9/11 remake. Oh, last year, 110. Let's do it again. Give, send, go. 9/11. Dawson spits the truth. Much respect and appreciation to you guys for platforming this guy. Absolutely, bro. We got you. And
Rainbow Frog, Cactus Lincoln.
Yeah. And then what was I gonna say?
Dawson, I'm curious to hear your take on the New World Order, though. Not now, but eventually, on what that whole agency, entails. But a different time.
Yeah, when Bush was talking about it in his speeches.
Yeah, and then
I will tell you what that is.
Airlines,
it's not as fantastical as you were gonna hope, though.
Okay.
All right. So Ryan, thank you for coming on the show, man. I think we covered this 9/11 thing. We debunked all the major things from melting beams to Pentagon got hit by a missile. We debunked that one all the way. Showed you guys dead bodies and plane parts to prove it.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, and all the we should have the medical records and the DNA that everyone on that plane actually was real and passed away. The black box, all that stuff. And then I think on the next one we're gonna probably go ahead and cover RFK Jr. RFK's death.
RFK Senior,
RFK Senior. We'll cover that on the next episode with Ryan. Will that be next Friday? No, because we'll be in Columbia, right? Probably the Friday after that. So it'll probably be the Friday after that, and then after that we'll have Ryan in studio with Scott Ritter. And Ryan, I'll go ahead and get those JFK researchers, man, and we'll make it all happen.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah, I'll give you a list, and I have contacts with a lot of them. I've interviewed them myself. I interviewed James at his house.
Let's do it that same weekend that you're here with Ritter.
It's just the guys that deserve the platform the most don't have a platform. And the ones that are off saying Executive Order 1111 Jonestown stuff, that has become the prominent JFK theories. He's against the Fed. Kennedy was pro-Fed.
Yeah.
Sorry, he's not an angel.
Yeah.
Like, I know he died and is wrong, and he was better than a lot of presidents, but he had some faults, and that was one of them.
Yeah. Fair enough.
All right,
guys, we'll catch you on the next one. We got some girls here. We're gonna probably do the after hours here very shortly. So we'll catch you guys on the next episode of Fresh Fit. Check out Ryan.
Yep.
Go check out his documentaries. Go ANC.com. I got his links all below, man. Go support him. We'll catch you guys. Peace.
Peace.
I ran so far.